Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our council meeting for Monday, December 12th. It's our last council meeting before the new year. Happy to have everyone in the gallery tonight. Notice to the members of the public that all cell phones, pagers, and/or PDAs to be turned off. So if you could just turn off your phones, I would greatly appreciate it at this time. We're going to rise for the singing of O Canada and remain standing for the opening petition by Councillor Bell. So could you all please rise? Councillor Bosma?
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only the best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and the pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens.
Thank you, Councillor. Everyone, please be seated. Well, good evening, councillors. We'll move into the agenda. Number 3, is there a change in order of items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. I just want to say before we get started tonight that our CAO sends his regrets. He is at home right now, perhaps expecting, or his wife is expecting, a second one on the way any day, any hour, any minute. So our acting CAO tonight is Ms. Donna D. Philippus. She's also our Director of Finance. Also, we'll have 2 clerks up here tonight. So we'll have Madam Clerk Joanne Shime and Madam Clerk Carolyn Langley to my right too as well. Joanne Shime, Carolyn Langley. Thank you. I don't get to say that all the time sitting here. So I just wanted to make that real clear from the beginning. Councillors, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. Number 5 is a request to address items on the agenda. Is there any members of the public who wish to make an address to tonight's council? Yes, ma'am. Come forward and state your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Marion Gowing, and I live at 29 Streamside Drive in Smithville. Your Honor and council members, first of all, I want to thank you for sending me the information on Friday, as I did read all 92 pages very closely. I am here today to represent the 58 people who signed the petition, including myself, in regards to the new townhome build. We are not here to object to the townhouse development at the entrance of Streamside Survey. We are here to review the report, the Township Planning, Building and Environmental Committee recommendations for the amendment being made by Catalina Construction and Landscaping Corporation, application for rezoning, and draft plan of condominium and authority to enter site plan agreement, file number 1601-012-16-200-08316. And we have a few comments to the amendment, and lastly, we have one request of the Town Council members in Phelps Homes and Catalina. We realize that Catalina and Phelps Homes wants the amendment approved before the new bylaws are approved sometime in the new year. We also realize that the visitor parking should be at the rear of the proposed townhome build according to the Urban Design Manual. This survey, where we live, and the new school covers approximately 16 acres of the parcel of land south of Highway 20. 10 acres are bungalows, bungalow lofts, and 2 stories. 6 acres is taken up by the new Catholic school, which leaves 4 acres left for the townhomes, which needs to comply with the current regional density plan, and we understand by definition that townhomes are 2-story with basement and walkouts. Unfortunately, the 15 townhomes that will be built next to the 100-year floodplain and the basements will be built on grade at this location abutting the current streamside survey. This makes the 15 townhomes that are abutting the current Phelps survey the equivalent to a 3-story townhome. In our minds, this will result in a very harsh transition from our survey to the new development. We are pleading with the town council and Catalina Construction and Phelps Homes to reconsider by putting in bungalows for a smoother transition with walkouts. Look, we are familiar that Phelps Homes has built these types of homes in other surveys, Bedford, Brookside, Auburn Trail, and Kingsway surveys. We know Phelps Homes has the creativity to do this in other developments, so can Phelps Homes not consider doing this here to complete our survey with distinction of a Phelps build? We are suggesting the smooth transitions from the bungalows with walkouts to streamside survey will be a win-win, as it would attract clients to buy these units. In closing, the smoother transition to the streamside survey and the new development would give a more pleasing view to residents in both developments and would complement both bills. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gowing. Hey, could we have a copy of your written statement, please? Do you have a copy of your written statement that you just talked about?
You can have it.
Yeah, if we could have that, that'd be great. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Gowing.
You're welcome.
Okay, this item of conversation will be coming up a little later in tonight's agenda, so please stick around so you can hear that later on in the agenda. Thank you. Is there any other members of the gallery who would like to speak tonight? Yes? Your name and your address, and perhaps maybe who you're representing tonight. You have a presentation, sir?
It's just one slide for
Oh,
visual.
okay, okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. My name is Jared Marcus. I'm here from IBI Group on behalf of Phelps Homes and Catalina Construction. Do have a few comments in regards to the report, PD 153-16. As you're aware, the project has been ongoing for quite some time. In 2011, we were here with a zoning amendment to change the use from commercial to the residential to permit the 68 townhouse units in a very much similar layout to what you'll see before you tonight. You'll also recall that in October, we were here for a public meeting to present the current iteration of that development, which has changed slightly to 54 townhouse units in this current iteration on the screen. The development tonight, of course, is subject to the approval of recommendations for zoning, vacant land condominium, and the site plan agreement. At that meeting, there were a number of concerns raised by the public. Generally speaking, those were parking, urban design, open space or green space, and privacy. The staff report that you do have before you tonight very exhaustively explains or provides answers or clarification to some of those concerns. Generally speaking, in regards to the parking concerns, we are providing 2 spaces per dwelling unit. You'll see there that there are driveways provided for all the units, and of course, garages will also be provided for all the units. In addition to that, there are 26 parking spaces, visitor parking spaces, which is only 1 space less than the bylaw minimum. This works out to approximately one space for every 2 units. The driveways and garages will all be 10 feet wide by 20 feet deep, and that is enough space to park a car there. In regards to the urban design concerns, we would note that the site plan approval drawings that township and regional staff have reviewed do show quite extensive landscaping along the stream side frontage to provide some form of visual buffer from those parking spaces. In addition to those, we are proposing a brick wall or masonry wall entry feature at the main intersection to the neighborhood of Streamside and Highway 20, as well as entry features on either side of the site entrance. You'll note in the report that both regional and township staff have concluded that the design of this development is appropriate and does meet the design guidelines in the urban design manual. In regards to the green space, we would note that the majority of the units do provide for 7.5 meter rear yards, which does meet the minimum in the bylaw. Some of the units are only 7 meters, rear yards are 7 meters deep, and this is only a variation of approximately 1.5 feet from that bylaw. So every unit will have their own individual amenity space. Through the review, township staff have concluded that we did not require private or public open space, general open space associated with this development. And there is a parkette at the end of Streamside Drive, as well as some open space associated with the school that will be built or finished soon. In addition, there is a North Creek Trail, which will be, or is in the books, so that's another feature that would be of use. In addition to that, we do pay a parkland dedication levy with each and every building permit, and this goes into the township's general parkland coffers for use in other areas. In regards to the privacy concerns, after the meeting in October, we had some discussions with staff, some internal discussions, and we have made some changes to the development. Most notably is a reduction in the end units here and here, which allowed us to trim about 2.5, 3 meters off the development and allowed us to move this bank of units here in a northerly direction so that we are now providing approximately 18 meters from the building face to the property line. This is approximately 60 feet. Once you factor in external or side yard here on this unit, you're left with approximately 66 feet, or what you could call the same width of a municipal road in this township. So you're looking property line to property line. This is the width that we're providing. Further in this area, we have 25 and 27 meter separations from building to building. So it is a quite large separation between these two uses. In addition to the separation that we've been able to achieve, the conditions of the vacant land condominium will require that on-title restrictions to individual use in the easement area. So no use by these private units will occur in this use. It'll just remain as a grass open area because there's a servicing easement and the 100-year storm. There's also an additional condition which requires some form of visual barrier along that rear lot line, or what we're calling the rear lot line for these units here. So there will be a visual barrier there. That's the final details of that is to be determined just yet. Lastly, we have read the conditions, the report. We're in support of the condominium conditions with one exception. Condition 31 requires a cash payment by our client to pay for improvements to Regional Road 20 and the proposed North Creek Trail. While generally we would agree that upgrades that benefit a specific development should include a cash contribution from that development, the North Creek Trail specifically benefits the community at large. It benefits other municipalities in the area, and it doesn't seem to us to be appropriate that a condition requiring our contribution to a town-wide feature like this is appropriate. So thank you, Your Worship. Those are my comments, and we'll be here to answer any more comments if council or yourself have those later.
Okay, thank you. Can we also have a copy of your presentation, please? Your written presentation or statement? Councilors, do you just want to wait for this item to come up, or do you have some questions now?
I've got a question now.
Councilor Rayner?
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Mayor.
Marcus, could you take the podium, please? Councilor?
Well, this is more directed towards the First Lady who came up and spoke about concerns. Is this gentleman's answers satisfying that individual with regards to her concerns? Because they seem to come in the reverse order. This gentleman would have come first and then she came last. I mean, I could have asked the questions, does this resolve all the issues that you were concerned about? Now I have to do it backwards. So, Mr. Mayor, through you, if you wouldn't mind asking the lady if there's response to all the concerns from last October have been properly addressed by her and the residents who live in this area and have the concerns.
Ms. Gowing, do you want to take the podium just for a second, please?
Sure.
Did you understand the question, Ms. Gowing?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Your response?
In regards to the moving the whole development further north, this is the first I've heard of that. I guess that would be, in their mind, something that might appease our minds. But the biggest thing is the development of the 15 townhomes that run alongside of the fence and the 100-year floodplain that directly impacts the homes that are behind. And we don't feel that looking at the back of a 3-story townhouse, even though it's considered a 2-story, is going to be very advantageous for any of us who own the properties. So I really don't think they've addressed that. I think that another fence, the fence will be fine, but the fence is still going to be lower than the fence that we already have running down beside our survey. So it's not going to obstruct anything. They're still going to have a full view into the yards of the homes that are already in Streamside. And I really felt after the meeting in October that there might have been some compromise or some give and take in terms of what exactly was going to abut the Streamside survey. And it seems to me that nothing really has changed, and he didn't mention anything about whether or not the balconies were still going to be there. And that was a concern when we were here in October. So I still think there's a lot of things that aren't really conducive to our wishes.
Thank you. I want to ask, if I could, Mr. Treble, a question. Has the balconies been addressed? I know Mr. Marcus didn't say anything about it, but do you know, Mr. Treble, if that has been addressed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Mayor, I don't believe so. I think the provision for balconies talks about allowing them to project into an exterior side yard, but nothing about no balconies on the rear yards of the 15 units.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Councilors, any more questions? Councilor Rayner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Mr. Treble. Mr. Treble, is there anything that could be done to address the concerns of the residents there that these particular buildings are going to be like a big apartment complex behind them, that it's going to take away a lot of the view, the comfort, the security, and most important, the privacy of the backyard? This appears to me to be a situation where people have come there in good faith. They've bought their properties. They're very pleased with what's going on. This property was initially proposed and approved that it was supposed to be commercial, and all of a sudden, in my absence last term, it got switched to residential to the benefit of the developer, but it's impacting the people who are already there. Is there anything that could be done to address that particular situation where these people will be assured that they're going to get their privacy and be able to enjoy their home without the apparent appearance of a very large building over top of them?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, 2 thoughts. The first is that there is a fairly substantial setback between the rear wall of the proposed units and the existing development. In the concept of trying to achieve increased density, which is certainly what the province is telling us, 60 feet is actually a fairly substantial distance to be able to leave as green space. Secondly, inside that 60 feet, the concept of a 6-foot fence, I think we all agreed just wasn't going to suffice.
Right.
So the intent of the buffer is actually that it be some sort of a living fence is the term that I've heard used in the last few days, where they'll be planting trees that are, not little seedlings. They're going to be 2.5 meter tall trees that'll be planted through that area to sort of create some sort of an instant fence as opposed to, or barrier, as opposed to a 6-foot fence that really achieves nothing else beyond that down the road. So those two things are a step towards trying to increase compatibility. I think the reality is, though, there will have to be increased development. It can't be more singles on 50-foot lots. Those days are gone. The variety of the types of units, I don't think is going to make it look like it's a wall or an apartment complex. It will be a series of individual dwellings. They're all attached together, but that's the nature of the type of development that we have to achieve in this day and age for infill purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Chubb. Mr. Marcus, a quick question. You're now proposing 18 meters or 60 feet. What was the number before, Mr. Marcus?
Before it was 15 meters, so about 50 feet.
50 feet, so we increased it by 10 feet. Okay. Counselor, are you done? Or you have another question?
Just one more through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Trouble. Is there anything else that can be done following the guidelines of the province and the region with regards to the design change of these buildings so that they don't become as overpowering as they apparently may become? Is there anything that can be done? Is there options and styles and designs and something that we can move to something different?
Mr. Trouble?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the provision limits the height to 2 stories, which I think is, in fact, quite a concession right there. Some of these types of developments in other communities are actually narrower and now 3 stories in height, and we're not allowing that in this particular instance. So it will be 2 stories beside many 2 stories. There is a grade change, but the reality is it's going to look like a very similar type of unit. It will be 2-story beside a mix of 2- and 1-story singles.
Mr. Chubb, this is very much a development that you would find right across Ontario, perhaps maybe even right across Canada, correct? Would you be able to find examples within a 25-minute drive from here of this?
This type of unit is happening, or this type of development is happening everywhere in the Niagara region these days. Livingston Avenue in Grimsby has quite a number of them. They have
Right.
some of the 3-story ones down there as well that are not permitted here. The challenge is the province is saying we have to increase densities. This density is nowhere near what the province would like us to achieve, so it is in some respects a compromise already from the policy sets we're likely to see come out in early 2017.
One more
Councilors, do
question.
you have any more questions?
I have one more.
Oh, sorry, Councilor.
Mr. Mayor, I have just one more for Mr. Trouble. The question was brought up that these condominiums are built on grade and therefore give the impression that they're much taller than they actually are. Do you get that perception? Would you feel that concept could be true? Because they're on grade, they look like 3-story instead of 2-story?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the reason they look like 3-story is that from the rear, they're going to have walkout basements. The front elevation will be raised such that the front driveway is at the first floor elevation, but when you come around to the rear, it's going to drop off so that there's walkouts, sliding doors, and patio doors presumably on the rear. I think you'll find that's a prevalent type of unit anywhere along water courses or water features and anywhere where there's grade changes. In fact, in the Anastasio development, I believe Mr. George Akakis in the day was creating that as some of his rear unit development on Anastasio Boulevard. So it's fairly commonplace, and to have a mix of walkouts and units that are, I think they call them lookouts, that's what developers are trying to achieve. They can offer a different type of unit to satisfy the customer's needs and desires. So walkouts and lookouts are pretty commonplace in most developments these days.
So it's because of that you have the perception that it's 3 stories?
From the rear, it looks like 3 stories, yes.
Mr. Mayor,
thank
may
you.
I add something?
Well, we usually ask the questions, but how about I let you comment at the very end once the councilors are done asking their questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other councilors? Councilor Bell?
You mentioned earlier, asking questions when it comes up later on.
Yeah.
Are we doing that? or
Yes, we
doing
are.
this?
We still are going to do
Obviously,
that.
mine till later.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other councilors? See, okay, Ms. Callahan.
I just wanted to make it very clear that I wasn't suggesting bungalows as in houses. I was suggesting bungalow townhouses with walkouts, so that the transition from the new development to our survey would be a smoother transition. I wasn't suggesting single detached bungalows.
Okay,
Want to make that clear.
okay, thank you. Okay, is there any other members of the gallery who would like to speak as well on anything on the agenda tonight? No? Okay, thank you so much. We'll move on to appointments and presentations. The first appointment and presentation is for the greeting card design celebrating holidays in West Lincoln. So if I could get the winning recipients, if they could come up front here and just stand beside their poster. I believe that there's 5 of the 6 here tonight. Is that correct? I see 4 only, but is there another one? Oh, there she is. Okay, come on right up front. Yeah, just go stand beside your poster right up front there. It's a big time now, you're right in the middle of the bush. That's not maybe where you want to be all the time. So. Yeah, see yours there, Caleb? So I totally Dylan who's not here tonight. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Students and parents, thanks for coming out today. This past fall, the mayor's office sent out a letter asking all of the elementary schools in West Lincoln to help establish a new West Lincoln holiday tradition. We invited all of the West Lincoln elementary students in grade 1 through grade 8 to participate in creating our inaugural holiday card design. And this year's greeting card theme was affectionately named Celebrating Holidays in West Lincoln. All the students' artwork submissions would be reviewed and approximately 6 to 12 illustrations would be chosen for the card. The young artists whose illustrations have been chosen for the 2016 greeting card have been invited here tonight, our December 12th council meeting, to formally be recognized by West Lincoln Council. We want to personally thank these students for making this year's holiday greeting card design event, and this is the inaugural year event, a truly special event. In addition, the 6 selected Celebrating Holidays in West Lincoln greeting card winners have had their winning entries laminated and hung in the foyer of Town Hall for the last 2 weeks. Even though you didn't know you won, they've been sitting out there in the foyer and everybody's been coming in and looking at them for the last couple of weeks. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, and before you do, just hold your applause to the end. I want to introduce you to Ms. Emily Schulenberg, age 12, from John Calvin School. Just wave Emily if you could. Lincoln Vanderweer, age 9, from Covenant Christian School. Caitlin Vandermolen, age 8, Covenant Christian School. Isla? Did I say that right? Or Isle? Eels Ravensbergen, age 11, John Calvin School. Dylan Boss, who is not here, age 11, John Calvin School. And Alyssa Vanderweer, grade 8, Covenant Christian School. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our inaugural West Lincoln Council greeting card. Mom and Dad, if you want to come up and have some pictures, what we're going to do now is we're going to present each student with actually a greeting card, and you'll see that your design. So Emily has done the front part of the greeting card. She did a beautiful tree, and then Ilsa has done, let me see here, a beautiful Christmas tree with a painting on the wall and a banner that says Merry Christmas, so there's a Christmas card for you. Lincoln has done a beautiful outdoor scene with, well, it seems like Santa Claus flying through the air over a house, and some of the reindeers on the ground or out in the meadows. He's from Covenant Christian. And Caitlin did a nice house with Santa Claus trying to get his fat belly down the chimney there. So that was very nice, Caitlin. Dylan did a nice outdoor scene, Merry Christmas, Christmas tree. And Alyssa Vanderweer, grade 8, Covenant Christian.
Grade 8, it's age 8.
Age 8. Very. I want you to turn around and show everybody that beautiful wrinkle smile. You're gonna get that picture in a moment. And Alyssa was the back part of the greeting card, and she did just an absolutely beautiful angel too as well. So again, let's put our hands together. Okay. So you hold that up. And you hold that up. And we had them laminated so you can take them home. Okay, Caitlin, you hold this one up. Okay, Alyssa, you hold that one. Okay, and I'll hold Dylan's up. And if we could just all come closer in the middle here, we'll have a couple pictures taken. Come a little closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. There we go. Are you smiling? Yes, it is.
I don't see any flashes.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. Moms and dads, thank you so much. Thank you, Public Christian, for participating.
Just another added duty for a counselor photographer. That's good. Ship them off to you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. That's a nice tradition. I think that's, that was the first year, the inaugural year, so we're going to get a few more schools next year with some coverage in the newspaper. We'll get a few more schools out next year, and we'll be able to maybe put 12 pictures into our season's greeting card. Okay, thanks so much. Now, we're going to do a presentation, the firefighter retirement and years of service recognition. I'm going to call upon Chief Fisher to come forward, and there's going to be a bunch of presentations. Chief?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, gallery. This year we have a number of service awards, years of recognition, to present to some of the members of the fire service. You guys are all standing. So, for 10 years of service, John Cookson, Rick Tansley, and Lloyd Crooks. Congratulations. 15 years goes to Deputy Chief Kevin Mathar. At the 20-year mark for years of service, guys get the Federal Medal of Honor. This year's recipient goes to Tim Hofsing. So, moving on, 25 years, if you can think about it, spending 25 years in the fire service is quite a long time. This year we have two recipients, Lieutenant Eric Weaver. And Captain Bob Dennison. And lastly but not least, this gentleman that gets the next years of service, believe it or not, has been here for 45 years. He started in 1971, so I was 8 years old at the time. So, putting in perspective, Jim Hiskett's been here for 45 years of dedicated service, so on behalf of the service, Jim.
Do you want to do a photo up front first, and then we'll go into a second part of it?
Sure.
Okay.
That's too fast for 35 millimeter.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the many years of service from our West Lincoln Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay. Captain Bob Dennison, who had 25 years of service, has decided that it was time for him to retire. Bob started in 1991, went through the rank of firefighter. He was training officer for, I'm guessing, 7, 8 years, and he moved from there to captain. Bob worked as a captain for probably another 6 or 7 years. Dedicated his time to the fire service. Very good, confident, and respected captain on the fire service here. So at this time, Bob, if you could come forward.
Thanks, Chief. I just wanted to say a few words. Quite simply, Bob, it's amazing 25 years, and I remember pretty much the day that you started, just about the time that one of my family members started too as well. So you've done an excellent job. We want to thank you for all your years of service. I pulled something off the internet today, and I thought it was kind of fitting that I read this. And this is something. I thought that was funny. Pull something up. Okay. It's just words. It's called the Valiant Volunteer Fireman's Creed. And it says, who spends endless, exhausting hours training without pay? Who instantly responds to a cry for help? Who's consummately devoted to saving lives and stands devastated when they are lost? Who's more joyously welcomed at the scene of a tragedy, accident, or catastrophe? Who's often ridiculed for his commitment rather than complimented for his sacrifice? Whose car remains mechanically fine-tuned, parked head-on in the driveway? Who tolerates interruptions in his work and home life and is expected to be always ready to act? Whose devotion to his maker and country are a hallmark of his character? Who's more willing to subordinate his own comforts, health, and even his life to benefit his community? Who never measures his contribution to his neighbors or expects their gratitude in return? Who guards life and property at all hours, every day, regardless of personal convenience? And lastly, who is ever available to serve despite rain or frost, storm or blizzard, even through the darkness of night? A volunteer fireman, that's who. I thought it was kind of fitting to say this fireman's creed, and there's many different volunteer fireman's creed. I just happened to pick this one. But the one line that I thought was most fitting is, who is ever available to serve despite rain or frost, storm or blizzard, even through the darkness of night? These are not great conditions, ladies and gentlemen, that these firefighters have to endure. They're sometimes very, very cold, frigid nights. And Bob, I know you've been you've been a recipient of some frigid minus 32-degree weathers where you only twice, yeah, where you actually come back to the hall and you can't even move. You're frozen solid. You have like 2-3 inches of ice on you. So it is not an easy job. And these men and women, we just have men on the West Lincoln Fire Services. We've had some women in the past, and we wish to have more come forward. But at this time, we only have men, and they've endured a lot of cold, hard nights. And I'd just like to say thank you, Bob, for the 25 years. You've been an outstanding firefighter, captain, trainer, chief. Mm-hmm. Yes. All the things that come along with being a West Lincoln volunteer firefighter, all the firemen's booths, all the going in the parades, all the getting ready for Ladies' Night, the annual event that you have to show the appreciation to your wives. So I just want to say thank you so much, and for your 25 years of service, we have a little gift for you too as well. So on behalf of the Township of West Lincoln, I'd like to present you with a little token of our appreciation. It's something that I know that you're going to like, because one thing that I don't know if you folks know, but Bob is a very avid, what do you call it, bicycle mountain biker. So we've got him something that he's going to be able to use for many years to come. So on behalf of the Township, Bob, congratulations, happy retirement, and don't be a stranger. Thank you so much. Want to say a few words?
No, I don't, but I will say a couple things. When I first moved to Smithville about 26 years ago, I didn't really know a lot of people in town, and a neighbor of mine talked to me about joining the fire department, and through the fire department I met many friends and opened me up into a community. And just on another note, when you're talking about being frigid, back in the old days we used to ride on the back of the fire truck. We were all a lot closer then because we used to cuddle and hug each other for warmth. So a lot of things have changed, but it has been good, and you have the best volunteer fire department in the world.
Councilors, I'll open up the floor. Would anybody else like to make a few remarks? No? Okay. Thank you so much. Firefighters, thank you. Thank you again. Okay, folks, we'll move on to the rest of our agenda here. We'll move on to Mr. Steve Weaver. He's from GSP Group, and Kevin Curtis, Curtis Planning Township Consultants. They're here to talk about the new zoning bylaw, and they do have a PowerPoint presentation. So, gentlemen, if you'd like to come forward and get yourself set up. Mr. Weaver, do you have a PowerPoint presentation?
We do. Mr. Treble was provided in advance. Do you know if it's already over here?
How about Caroline?
Good. February 2. Don't worry about the PowerPoint. We'll accept it as it is. Move on. I'm done. See you in February.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff, and members of the public. Thank you for affording us some time on your final agenda for the last council meeting of the year to provide an update on the new comprehensive zoning bylaw project. I should clarify, GSP Group is the township's consultant for the zoning bylaw project. Curtis Planning Consultants is not one of the consultants on the project. They are assisting us, however, with the municipal comprehensive review. So two comprehensive projects, but two different projects. So Kevin Curtis is not with me here tonight, but you will be seeing him again at a future meeting when we talk about the other project. There is about a 7-page memo in your council agenda package, which provides a bit of a summary in addition to Brian's report, and I'll just highlight some of the key points from that memo. So in terms of a project overview, the purpose of this zoning bylaw project is to repeal and replace your existing zoning bylaw. It was enacted many years ago, back in 1979, and has been amended numerous times since then, hundreds of times. and has been becoming a challenge to work with because of its age and because of the number of amendments that have been approved over the years. This will essentially completely replace all of those old bylaws with a brand new comprehensive zoning bylaw. In preparing the bylaw, we did do a lot of research and a lot of consultation that covered a wide range of planning policy and regulatory considerations. I won't get into all of that, but there's a very detailed background report that details the context that led to this zoning bylaw. In terms of the consultation, we've had a lot of extensive public review opportunities, presentations, public meetings, 3 open houses last October. We've received comments from both the public and from agencies, and we've provided responses to those comments. Township staff have also used the past year or so to review the zoning bylaw with new development applications, and that's given us an opportunity to tweak the bylaw and to make some improvements to it based on the review of new development applications. There is sort of one outstanding comment that we're still working with the NPCA. The mapping has changed significantly from the old bylaw. The old bylaw used to have a hazard zone that related to floodplains and so forth. The new mapping reflects a much more comprehensive range of environmental constraints. That has some impacts to some areas that have existing buildings and structures, and so we're reviewing that very carefully with the NPCA to make sure we get that mapping right. In terms of the overall objectives of the project, really this is a requirement of the province to review your zoning bylaw periodically. It follows on the heels of your new official plan and is the key implementation tool for your official plan. So your official plan sets broad land use policy, broad land use designation, and the zoning bylaw is much more detailed. It actually regulates the specific permitted uses, land uses on each property, and all of the regulations that lots, buildings, and structures have to meet. The other objective, of course, as I alluded to earlier, is we want a user-friendly, streamlined bylaw. This will be easier for staff, the public, developers, council, and others to work with than the current bylaw. It's less cumbersome, easier to understand, uses modern zoning approaches, updated definitions, much better document. We also wanted to make sure we could reduce what we call exception zones. These are special zones that have evolved over the years where somebody wanted to do a severance or build a building that didn't quite meet a side yard setback. Over the years, hundreds of these exceptions have been developed in the new bylaw or in the current bylaw. And with the new bylaw development, we have the opportunity to reduce those exceptions by consolidating similar zoning zones together and recognizing existing circumstances without having to zone every property in its own separate zone. And of course, as I mentioned, there's new mapping that will be easier to read, a different format of mapping, both electronic and hard copy, that will be more user-friendly. In terms of the revisions to the bylaw over the past year, we've maintained the overall format and structure, the same approach as has generally been used. We've added a user's guide to help simplify this for lay people who don't use this on a day-to-day basis, to help understand how to actually use the bylaw, find the zoning of your property, what does it mean, what sections to look at. If you're looking at doing a development or building a shed or anything in between, you need to know how to use the bylaw, and this will also help to reduce hopefully some of the staff requirements and constantly having to answer those types of questions. So we've tried to make it more user-friendly, more accessible, both for staff, council, and the public. We've made revisions to a number of different sections. In terms of general provisions, these are provisions that apply generally across the municipality. We've updated provisions related to accessory dwelling units. Allowable projection speaks to things like front porches and steps and how they can project into the front yard. Bed and breakfast establishments, we've harmonized that with your official plan. It's limited to 2 guest rooms in those types of establishments. Home occupations and home industries, again, this is a matter of aligning with your official plan and using the term home industry as per provincial policy. And similarly with on-farm diversified uses. So these are farm-related businesses that occur on the farm, accessory to a farm, and we've prepared some new provisions for those based, again, on provincial guidelines. The zones themselves have been revised as well. You have many what we call agricultural purposes only zones. Currently, those are A2 special zones, but we've developed a new parent zone called APO. This would allow you to use this zone when there's surplus farm dwelling severances to meet provincial requirements and without having to do a special exception zone every time that type of severance occurs. There's also been some refinements to the range of permitted uses, the regulations for buildings and structures in a range of different zones from agricultural, residential, commercial, and employment zones. So some refinement of the bylaw over time, again, based on staff and agency review. We've corrected some of the references to the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority and environmental impact statement EIS requirements in the environmental zones as well to make sure people are aware. If you're near a river, if you're near a wetland, if you're near a woodlot, chances are you're going to have to contact the NPCA and understand what their requirements are in addition to the municipality zoning bylaw. We were able to consolidate the holding provisions and the site-specific provisions and all of the previous temporary uses that have been permitted over the years into the new bylaw as well, and made a number of mapping revisions. So we've integrated all those existing site-specific zones, those holding zones and temporary use zones that I mentioned. We've introduced that agricultural purposes only or APO zone on the mapping, where that zone has historically been applied as an A2 special zone. We've updated, again, the environmental mapping based on new information from the NPCA to refine the boundaries of the environmental protection, or EP, and the environmental conservation, or EC zones. And then the refinement of zone boundaries and symbols has followed those changes as well to make sure the maps are clear and easier to read. This is just an example of what I was talking about in terms of the concerns with the environmental zones. As you can see, the extent of the EP and EC areas on the map. I don't know if I can get my cursor on the map. There they are. You can see these areas that we flagged and outlined in red. There are obviously some existing agricultural and other buildings and structures in those types of areas. In the little blow up picture, you can see there's just a little shed or something on that property as well that's probably within a floodplain. So that, in that circumstance, that would probably have to remain in an environmental type of zone. But the other areas, there is no clear identifiable environmental feature that's tied to this environmental conservation zone. And so we want to refine that, working with the NPCA to make sure we're not causing additional constraints on areas that have historically already been built, to make sure that we're recognizing those buildings and structures where they are and that they can expand reasonably without having to go through a lot of red tape. So we are reviewing that mapping further. The province has continued to change the framework that we're working within in planning matters since over the last year, since we last presented the bylaw to the Planning and Building Committee. There's been some more Planning Act amendments. Most significantly, when you repeal and replace your zoning bylaw with a brand new one, you now have the power of a 2-year moratorium on applications for zoning bylaw amendments. So this council could refuse zoning bylaw amendments for a 2-year period without any appeal rights by the applicants. So that's a significant new change to the Planning Act. And it's another reason why we have to make sure we carefully get this zoning bylaw right. Because if there are concerns about it not being right, people could appeal it. But if it is not appealed and comes into effect, then for 2 years, council has the discretion to decide which applications it will actually receive for processing and actually allow to move through the public process. And applications that are permitted to proceed by council, which you can decide generally or on a case-by-case basis or for specific classes of applications, those would go through the normal process that you already have established here. Another piece of legislation has been introduced by the province called the Promoting Affordable Housing Act. This again will introduce some amendments to the Planning Act. Essentially what this will do is allow the township and other municipalities to require as a condition of development that certain affordable housing is provided. And it's not clear yet how exactly this will be deployed. The province has not yet set an effective date for the majority of these Planning Act amendments. And it will have to be work its way through both the regional official plan, the local official plan, and then into your zoning bylaw. So This is just sort of an advance notice that this is coming down the pipe, that the province has moved fairly quickly to give this bill royal assent, which was just last week, but hasn't set an effective date yet. So over the course of the next year, I think you'll see some of these changes coming into effect, which will then, again, provide the municipality with additional powers related to affordable housing. Some of the other changes, the province has now finalized some guidelines on permitted uses in prime agricultural areas. Again, this is related to those on-farm business uses that I was talking about. Gets a little more specific than provincial policies we've been working with to date in terms of what that means, what sizes we're talking about, what types of businesses should be permitted on a farm to support those agricultural uses. So we've considered those guidelines and built some of those recommendations into the new bylaw. OMAFRA, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, has also introduced a new minimum distance separation document, and this is an important document, especially in West Lincoln, where you have a lot of livestock facilities and related facilities that require certain setbacks, which are determined based on formula developed by the ministry. So they have developed a new set of guidelines for implementing those requirements. There is a requirement by the province that those formula actually be implemented in your zoning bylaw. So there are sections of this new MDS document that will have to become part of your bylaw. And the effective date on that is March 1st, 2017. Now, the ministry has advised that that document is essentially final, so we can build it into the zoning bylaw now, but effectively it's not, it doesn't have legal effect until March 1st of next year. There are a couple of items, and Brian touched on this in his report, that require some refinement in the official plan to ensure that the two documents are perfectly in sync. As I mentioned, the zoning bylaw is the primary implementation tool of the official plan. A housekeeping amendment to the official plan is recommended to address home industries. Currently, your official plan says you can only have a home industry or like an on-farm type of business if you go through a zoning amendment process. What we're suggesting is uniform regulations that apply, and if you meet those regulations, then you wouldn't need a zoning bylaw amendment, but you would still have to go through a site plan process. If you don't meet those regulations, you're still subject to a zoning amendment process. I think the rationale in your current official plan for that zoning amendment requirement is really your old zoning bylaw didn't have some uniform regulations that could be applied. So this fixes that issue, and so I think we also have to fix the policy in the official plan to match that. Similarly, the current official plan also requires amendments for communal housing, so long-term care facilities, retirement homes, and that sort of housing. Most municipalities wouldn't require a zoning amendment if you are locating those types of facilities in appropriate zones, say in an institutional zone or maybe even a high-density residential zone. We're suggesting that that policy should be amended because we have new regulations in the new zoning bylaw that would take care of those types of facilities, make sure they're only permitted where appropriate and subject to appropriate regulations. And then finally, there is some question or lack of clarity in the official plan about whether standalone residential uses are permitted in the downtown area of Smithville. So this would be an apartment building next to a commercial use. It does only permit residential uses or clearly permit them when you have a commercial ground floor use. But the question is, should the downtown area also allow a mix of residential and commercial, even if they're in separate buildings, for example? In discussion with staff, it was desired that, yes, there are some sites where this could be possible in the downtown area of Smithville, that you may want to permit residential apartments on their own without a commercial component, and in fact that there are some buildings that are used only for residential uses already. So we're recommending that the official plan should be clarified a little bit and that the zoning bylaw permit some apartment uses in that C1 downtown commercial zone, even if a commercial use is not part of that. Some additional policy wording would be needed to make sure that that doesn't become a dominant use in your downtown, that it's still a mix and that there's still primarily a commercial component there as your primary commercial district. But this would allow some more flexibility on the residential side. Now, in order to do this official plan amendment, there will be another public meeting required. We're recommending another public meeting be held anyway to allow the public to comment on the changes we've made to the zoning bylaw over the past year before it is brought forward to council for final approval.
timeline, if you could?
Sure. So in terms of next steps, we have a few things left to do, which will take a couple of months, but we would like to have this ready for council consideration of approval in the first quarter of 2017. So we've got a little bit of additional review to do with the NPCA, as I mentioned. We have to prepare that official plan amendment to tweak some of the policies in the OP. We have to then provide another public notice and give agencies an opportunity to comment on that, and then respond to any final comments before we bring it forward. So I think working with staff and agencies, we can hopefully get that back to you between February and March of the new year is our target. Once council approves the bylaw, then there's a final public notice of council's decision to anyone who's participated in the process. So, Your Worship, that's my presentation, and I would be pleased to take any questions from council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Weaver, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And is there any questions or comments? Mr. Trouble, did you want to say any remarks before we get into questions or comments at all?
Just that the planning department, sorry. The planning department staff were feeling in such a giving mood today that everybody has a Christmas present on their desk in the form of a draft in the new zoning bylaw, which I know you're going to take home. And it's an exciting read.
You're just like Santa Claus. It's remarkable.
I tell you. So, yeah. The reality is this document is still a bit of a work in progress, as you just heard. Staff would like, though, to take it to a public meeting in February and then have a recommendation report shortly thereafter. It has changed in some respects, as Mr. Weaver has referred to. The key piece, which I think is important for the public to take a look at, is those areas where there were exceptions. Those exceptions in the current bylaw add up to over 500 in total. They've been condensed and consolidated down to 140-something. And so a pretty dramatic condensing of things. But really, just a lot of duplication has been kind of fine-tuned and finessed. So this document is now ready for the public to take a look at, and some official plan amendment policy stuff would be part of that same public meeting, hopefully in February.
Okay. Councilors, questions, comments? Councilor Bosma?
Thank you very much for the presentation, and I probably will spend some time in it over the Christmas holidays. And I'll apologize for that to my family.
Ahead of time.
Ahead of time, yeah. So generally speaking, when these comprehensive bylaw, it's a comprehensive document, it's quite thick. Generally speaking, the tendency over time is for government to creep and you know, as some people may describe it, to get their tentacles into more and more of our lives and what we do in the business of our private property. And I spoke to you at one of the public meetings, and most of our councils quite aware of a growing, let's say, a movement, a growing group of concerned citizens who are trying to, to a greater or lesser degree, or a more effective or less effective way, push back. And this is the kind of stuff that really raises their hackles. When there's a comprehensive bylaw review, it gives plenty of opportunity for, well, it's subject to interpretation, and that interpretation, develops over time. So we have a kind of a working document. Cumbersome is the description of it. But people are very comfortable with it. So my question is this: would you say that this in your opinion, so whatever that's worth, in your opinion, would you find it to be more restrictive? Certainly it sounds like you've made more clarity, so that's a good thing. Clarity is always a good thing, but would you find it to be more restrictive or less restrictive?
Mr. Weaver?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Obama. Councillor Bilesma, sorry. I actually think that this is just a simplified document. Wouldn't call it either more restrictive or less restrictive. It's still bound by the Planning Act requirements in terms of what it can address, as your current bylaw is. There are aspects of the new bylaw that I would say are more general and before they were more specific, and that's because, in my view, a proper zoning approach is one that sets a standard and a level of expectation, but concerns itself less with the specific activities of what somebody is doing within that envelope. So this is more about setting a benchmark as opposed to micromanaging what people are doing on their properties. So I hope that with this simpler, clearer document, there won't be a sense of reaching out into broader and more cumbersome regulation, that it's actually just a simplified, easier to use version of what existed before.
Thank you, I appreciate that answer, yeah.
Okay.
No further at this time.
Councilors, any other comments or questions this time? Okay, thank you, Mr. Weaver. Okay, councilors, we'll move on to number 7, which is the confirmation of minutes. A, council minutes regular, November 28, 2016. Councilor Balsma, you have that resolution, please.
I do. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Trombetta that the minutes of the November 28, 2016 regular council meeting be accepted.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Balsma and seconded by Councilor Trombetta. Is there any questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. B, council minutes special December 5th, 2016. It initially said draft 2017 operating capital budget information report. Ms. Langley, do you want to explain what it should have read there under B, please?
Through you to members of council, it should have read that the December 5th minutes related to the 2017 operating and capital budget. It
Period.
was just transposed from a previous meeting, but it is actually the budget.
Okay, Councilor Chichak, you have that resolution, please?
I do, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Terrybell that the minutes of the December 5th, 2016 special council meeting, 2017 operating and capital budget be accepted.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Chichak and seconded by Councilor Bell. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, communications. Nikki Mizo, fundraising chair for the Westlake and Skating Club. She's here to ask and request to sell break-open Nevada tickets in the arena lobby during rental of ice time. I don't see Miss Mizo here tonight. Well, I guess we'll carry on. Councilor Ganan, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Belsma that the correspondence received November 1st, 2016 from Nikki Meisel, fundraising chair for the West Lincoln Skating Club, requesting to sell Nevada break-open tickets in the arena lobby during the hours that the West Lincoln Skating Club rent the ice, be received and approved, and that the West Lincoln Skating Club be advised that the Nevada break-open tickets must always be securely stored in a locked area within the West Lincoln Skating Club office, which is located at the West Lincoln Arena, when the tickets are not being sold, as per the requirement of the Ontario Alcohol and Gaming Commission.
Thank you. Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Ganan and seconded by Councilor Balsma. Is there any questions or comments? Councilor Trombetta?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity, and just in the resolution, where does the OLG stand in all this? For you, Mr. Mayor, I don't know where we can get that answer. Like, you know, Mrs. Langley, because the OLG regulates all gaming in all of Ontario. So where does the OLG stand between the municipality and obviously themselves?
Through you to members of council, with respect to this request from the skating club, there was a gray area within the regulations that we have from the OLG. And so we contacted them and received approval that this location where they wanted to sell tickets was appropriate because it didn't necessarily fit the guidelines as we read them, so we had to get an interpretation. So they are the approval authority with respect to the rules and regulations around lotteries, and that's who we would go to when we have issues. And we require council approval for them, for the skating club, to have authority to sell at that location.
So, sorry, Mr. Mayor, just one more question to the clerk. So, our party monitors obviously the winnings and well, how does it work? Like, and then the issues, like, and how, the payouts, like, how does that work, Madam Clerk?
Through you to members of council, the township is responsible for issuing a lottery license. So if she wants to sell tickets at the arena, she has to go through us to get a license. We have to determine that the location is appropriate, and that is why we did this investigation and require a motion from council. So we receive applications for lottery licenses, and based on the regulations, we will approve them, and then they have to submit their financial statements at the end after the lottery is completed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Seeing no more questions or comments, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, we'll move on to Mayor's remarks. My remarks will be very quick tonight. I just wanted to recognize a couple of new businesses that have opened up in West Lincoln. They both happen to be down at the Village Square Mall. One is called Bong Nail and Spa, and the other one is the Family Dollar in Discount. And as I said, both of them are located in Village Square Mall. I want to thank the councilors who came out to help me present a certificate of recognition to the owners. They're very happy to be located here in West Lincoln. They see a very bright future. They see the mall as or Village Square Plaza as a very, very busy place, and that's good to someone who's trying to sell merchandise or a service. So I want to thank them for choosing West Lincoln, and please, if you can, please patronize them as much as you can. The second comment I want to make is that this Friday, I'm very happy to report that Stanpack, the largest company that we have here in West Lincoln, who employs the most people, is the recipient of I believe it's about a $2 million funding announcement from FedDev, so from the federal government. So this Friday at 10 o'clock is a tour. At 10:30, the announcement will be made by the MP from St. Catharines, Mr. Chris Biddle. He will be here along with dignitaries of Niagara West Glanbrook to present and talk to Stanpack and basically congratulate them. $2 million will go a long way in helping them with their new addition at Stanpack. I believe now with this addition, we are talking just about 350, maybe 360 people that Stanpack employs from around the Niagara region. So we are very happy, and Stanpack is very happy to be able to be the recipients of this federal funding announcement. Those are my remarks for the month of December. We'll move on to report of committee. Councilors, the definition for reconsideration and notice of motion to rescind is there for your viewing pleasure. Other business, consent agenda items. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one resolution. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests it, in which case the item will be removed from the consent resolution and considered immediately following the adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. Councilor Rayner, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The council hereby approves, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Jason Trombetta, that the council hereby approves the following consent agenda items. 1, item 1, be and hereby accepted, and 2, item 2 is hereby received for information, and 3, items 3 and 4 be and are hereby received, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted with the exception of, and there has been none noted at this time.
Thank you. Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Rayner and seconded by, I think it was Councilor Trombetta. Yes, it was. Is there any questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, Council, we'll move on to planning, building, environmental items, and as was said at the beginning of this meeting, we are doing all the committee meetings and council all in one night. So we'll move on to Section B, Planner 2, Garrett Burama, and Director of Planning and Building, Mr. Brian Treble. This is the report number PD 14016. It is a technical report, zoning bylaw amendment, agricultural purposes only. James Smith and Darlene Black, file number 1601-013-16. Councilor Trombetta, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilman Ganan. Sorry, first time I got the second from you. This is Ganan, so it's new for me. That report PD 140-16 regarding James Smith and Darlene Black application for rezoning dated December 12, 2016 be received, and that a recommendation report be presented at the next Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Trombetta and seconded by Councilor Ganan. Is there any comments or questions? We had the public hearing earlier tonight. Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Thank you. C, Director of Planning and Building, Mr. Brian Treble, report number PD 15816. It's a recommendation report, zoning bylaw amendment, agricultural purposes only. Brian Schnick, file 1601-008-16. Councilor Bell, you have that resolution, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Gadan that the report PD 158-16 regarding Brian Schnick application for rezoning, file number 1601-008-16 dated December 12, 2016 be received, and that the application for zone bylaw amendment 1601-008-16 submitted by Brian Schnick be approved, and that Section 3417 of the Planning Act apply, and that no further public meeting is required.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Bell and seconded by Councilor Ganan. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Director of Planning and Building, Mr. Brian Treble, report number PD 14416, which is a recommendation report. These are the proposed actions of West Lincoln Industrial Wind Turbine Advisory Committee, otherwise known as PAC. Councilor Balsma, you have that resolution, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Chichok. That report PD 144-16 regarding proposed actions of West Lincoln Industrial Wind Turbine Advisory Committee, PAC, dated December 12, 2016 be received, and that West Lincoln become a member of the multi-municipal working group. Membership costs approximately $500 to $700 a year, and that contact information for the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, the MOECC, and each wind turbine project be placed on the township website such that the public is informed on where complaints can be lodged.
Councilors, you've heard that resolution moved by Councilor Balsma and seconded by Councilor Chichok. Thank you. Any questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, E, planners, Mr. Garrett Burama and Kelly Martell, and Director of Planning and Building, Mr. Brian Treble, report number PD 15316. It is a recommendation report, condominium development, Catalina Construction and Landscaping Corporation, application for rezoning and draft plan of condominium and authority to enter site plan agreement, file number 1601-012-16. 2000-08316. Councilor Chichok, you have that resolution, please.
Well, I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Bilsma, that report PD 153-16 regarding condominium development, Catalina Construction Landscaping Corporation, application for rezoning and draft plan of condominium and authority to enter in a site plan agreement, file number 1601-012-16, 2000-08316, dated December 12th, 2016, be received. That the application for zoning bylaw amendment 1601-012-16 submitted by the IBI Group, Inc. be approved, and that section 3417 of the Planning Act apply, and that no further public meeting is required, and that application for draft plan of condominium 2000-083-116, submitted by the IBI Group be approved as per attachment 4 in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act RSO 1990, Chapter 13 and regulations there, under subject to conditions contained in attachment number 5 to PD 153-16, and that the applicant be advised that Township's draft approval of this plan of condominium will lapse in 3 years from the date of draft approval unless Township Council grants an extension of the approval period. If an extension is requested, an update review will occur and revisions to the conditions of approval may be necessary at that time, and that the bylaw be passed to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign a final site plan and draft site plan agreement upon the recommendation of township staff.
Wow, it's a long one. Take a drink, Councilor.
I know, I wish I had one.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Chichak and second by Councilor Belsma. Is there any questions or comments? Councilor Bell.
Through you, Mayor Joyner, I have a few comments and questions. I guess my first one is that I looked at this whole plan, and I'm going to ask Mr. Treble, one of the issues that I have is the Ontario Municipal Board. There was a hearing a while back, and as you read through that, there was things that was said, and then where we are today, I'm just looking for the compatibility. Do they meet the requirements of the Ontario Municipal Board, or is there something in there that shouldn't be there?
Do they meet the requirements, or do they meet the outcomes that came out of the Ontario?
The outcomes of the Ontario Municipal Board,
Okay,
which
gotcha.
is where we are today. I want to make sure that nothing's changed.
Mr. Treble.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in October of 2012, the OMB issued a decision with respect to the zoning, which at that time was taking it along with an official plan amendment from the commercial to a medium-density residential category. And there were five provisions that were part of the bylaw at that time. And they mainly dealt with, ironically, compatibility with the single-family development of Streamside in a fashion that required setbacks. As an example, semi-detached, triplex, or townhouse units shall be located a minimum of 11 meters from the southwesterly lot line of lands adjacent to the R3 zone. And I think we heard tonight they're now at 18 meters. The maximum height of any semi-detached, triplex, or townhouse unit on land zoned RM3 495 shall not exceed 2 stories. So the 2 stories was set then, and it's consistent in that regard. Parking spaces and driveway surfaces shall not be located within 11 meters of the southwest corner of the lot, and that is complied with as well. And the final main provision was that there will be no parking spaces or driveway surfaces inside an area that's sort of defined with dimensions of 6 meters setback from Streamside Drive and 25 meters northerly from the southwest lot line, which also is complied with based on my review of the site plan proposed. So the 2012 OMB decision provisions continue in the current bylaw and are complied with, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Bell? Councilor Bell, sorry.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you. And my next question, condition 31, I heard Marcus state that they feel, and I use the word they, the developer feels that they shouldn't have to do cash contributions towards our trails. I disagree. Condition 31 stays. I don't want to see that taken out. Okay. And my other question is to deal with the balconies.
Which?
Balconies. Okay. Is there any clarity through you, Mayor Jordan, Mr. Treble, on the balconies? Like, are they allowed to be there? Like, I know they're asking for amendments to the side yards and stuff, but what about the back? Because we're dealing with privacy issues, and by adding a balcony, it just compounds the issue.
Mr. Treble?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the yard provisions of the current zoning bylaw, the parent zoning bylaw in section 7 have provisions that apply to all zones, and it talks about uncovered balconies, decks, and unenclosed porches being permitted to encroach into the front yard, not more than 1.5 meters. So that doesn't really impact the neighbors. But the next statement does. Uncovered balconies, decks, or unenclosed porches may project into the required rear yard a distance of not more than 3 meters. So there is a rear projection of 3 meters that is allowed based on the current bylaw at this point, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
And my last question, I believe, is to deal with the urban design. It was stated by Marcus that they're going to do some extensive landscaping and brickwork and et cetera. I'm sorry, but that don't cut it. Okay, it's very simple in our design. We hired a consultant to go out and look at this for us. We spent well over a year. He comes back. We looked at many features of it. We voted in favor of adopting this policy. And it was made very clear back in October when this was presented to council that the parking has to be moved to the rear. Bring the townhouses forward, put the parking in the rear. Clearly, they just ignored it. Nothing's changed in that aspect. Myself personally, we have this bylaw in place. It's our design, it's what we want, and I don't feel we should be dictated to by a developer what they want. If we allow this to happen, then we may as well scrap our urban design bylaw. It was just a total waste of time, effort, and finances. So for me personally, this issue needs to have an amendment put to it, and I have one here, and if I'm allowed to read it, I would.
Does Madam Clerk know about it, and does she have it previously? She's nodding that she does, so go ahead.
She does. And the amendment I'd like to put forward is that recommendation 4 of the report PD-153-16 be amended as follows. That the words "as per attached 4" be deleted and replaced with "as modified to flip the townhouses and the parking areas along Streamside Drive, and by adding the following at the end of the recommendation with the necessary changes to the condition 1 of the attachment 5 as contained in this modified that recommendation." And I'm sorry, it was moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Bozeman.
Okay, Councilors, an amendment on the floor, moved by Councilor Bell and seconded by Councilor Bosman. Questions or comments to Mr. Treble, please? Councilor Rayner, and then I see Councilor Trombetta. Any other comments, questions on the right side?
No, I'm good.
No? Start with Councilor Rayner, Trombetta, Chichuk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to you to Mr. Treble. With regards, this is one thing that Councilor Bell brought up, but the other thing is about balconies. Is there any way that we can incorporate into this that the balconies are not to be allowed?
Sir, I don't know, Councilor, I don't know if I can allow that because we're dealing with the amendment and that is not fully to what the amendment is talking
I
about.
wanted to add it to the amendment because the amendment is...
But it's been moved and seconded it with
we'll
exact
deal with
words.
that, and then I will bring the next one
Yes,
up.
we can do that.
That's fine.
Okay,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Councilor Trombetta?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I was a little close. Well, sorry about that. This amendment deals with obviously our urban design, correct?
Yes.
The issue with the urban design. I'm going to have to agree with Councillor Bell on this issue, and the only reason why I'm going to agree, because I previously, and Mr. Trouble knows this as well, is that months ago I got various phone calls of a local Christian church that wanted to change their church and obviously have a new church being built, but due to our urban design, they needed it to be put up front, and they went to the extension of changing their plan and coming back with a new design, and they were not too happy, but they made the necessary changes that they had to make, and I said we had to follow our urban design plan. So I kind of concur with Councillor Bell, is that, you know what, we did it for the Christian church, or I did it for the Christian church, and stated that we have to stick with our urban design plan, and I hope we can still do this with, it'll look pretty bad on myself if I didn't do this with a developer. Like I said, the church approached me months ago, and I told them what was outlined, and talking to Mr. Treble what the details were, so I just wanted to state that for this amendment, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Trombetta. Councillor Chichuk.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you to Mr. Treble. This application has been with us for a couple of times, and I'm not saying that I object to what it is that the councillors are suggesting we put through. But how did we get to here? And now I would presume that Councillor Bell has had discussions with our own staff, and that this decision is now reached. Has this been discussed with the developer before? Has the developer discussed this before, this option?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The reality, I guess, is twofold. One, at the public meeting, this was raised at that time, so it's been known about since the public meeting in October. Two, I called Mr. Marcus today to indicate to him the concern that I felt was probably coming forward tonight based on discussions I had had earlier today. And so Mr. Marcus is aware of the urban design issue that we're discussing right now. If I may, though, Mr. Mayor, I guess just to be fair and put on the table, I think where the developer has landed is to say that with adequate landscaping provisions and attractive entrance features and other buffering techniques that they have proposed and show in the site plan, don't get very well illustrated in the zoning provisions that are before us, but have been illustrated in the site plan provisions, that they feel that they have done an adequate job to provide a buffer to sort of hide or make less obvious the parking areas, while at the same time providing us facades that front the street. So there's a series of different provisions inside the urban design guideline that we have to try and balance, and avoiding having rear yards abutting the streets, such as exists on Town Line Road right now, and having projections of facades and entrances to the street is an important criteria, as well as parking provisions. So on balance with the landscaping features, staff have landed to say that it's not a bad proposal that's before us. Is it the same message we gave to the church? Not necessarily, but it's a different type of development. So, you know, I guess staff aren't necessarily as concerned about this one, as well balancing it with the school that's being proposed across the street, where the parking and entrance features are definitely on the same, sort of the same street, just the opposite side of the street, gave us some balance to this proposal. Having said that, though, Mr. Mayor, the modification attempts to go to supporting the application and approving it such that a revision is required and avoids a delay in having to bring it back to a future meeting, so that approval, should council feel, as per Councillor Bell's position, that the proposal can get approved with modifications such that it proceeds tonight and isn't stalled until February.
So further, Mr. Mayor, if I might, I understand that this is different than the church, but we are being consistent. We're raising the bar in this community, and that is certainly something that we want to uphold. But does this change? If I understand it correctly, there's no change in density, there's no change in yield, so there's no controversy about any impact to the condominium site by doing this, is there?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I have not seen a plan that would actually look like the proposal needed to achieve what Councillor Bell has put on the floor. So I cannot answer whether or not densities would change. It's possible a unit could be lost. I don't know.
So with fairness, through you, Mr. Mayor, I mean, have we given the option to the developer to look at this amendment and decide whether they'd like it referred back and come back in February, or should it just proceed this evening? Our want, this seems to be a good plan for us. This seems to do some of the things that we are looking for, but is it something that the developer would like to discuss more fully with staff, rather than have us impose it and then have some sort of disagreement as we move forward? Would that be appropriate? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my phone call to Mr. Marcus was at about 2 o'clock this afternoon, so I certainly don't know the answer to that question,
Okay.
and perhaps
So
the
then-
people behind me do know, but.
So, because I'm looking at this, and while I completely understand where Councilor Bell's going, and I support it, I was just trying to give the applicant an opportunity. But if there was nothing mentioned in their presentation, then I would take it that there's no great disagreement with the idea of this option coming forward.
I'm not hearing what's being whispered behind you, Councilor, or Mr. Trouble.
We were having a powwow and I missed what was being said by.
I guess what I was really saying was that since there was a discussion earlier today, and since I did not hear anything to the contrary in the, regarding this option or this suggested recommendation alteration coming forward in your brief dissertation to us, I would assume that you do not have objection to it, so I'm not going to recommend anything, and it would have been there that I would have expected to hear concern.
If you want to, this is the time. She's begging you.
I'm not begging anything, I'm just wanting to make
If
sure.
you can't get the clue, she's
Yeah.
saying, here's your opportunity,
I'm
sir.
giving you an opportunity, but if there isn't one, I'm ready to go.
Sorry, Mr. Trevel is correct. We did have a very brief conversation about this afternoon. It was brief in the sense that he advised that Councillor Bell had concerns and would.
As do we
bring
all.
them. Beyond that, that was about the extent of the conversation, so there was no discussion on
The options are,
the options. President was just kind of presented that there was going to be concerns raised. I unfortunately am not an expert on their urban design manual. Going through comments, going through the comments, unless the comments are incorrect, they seem to be fairly consistent, and in that they're saying we do meet the guidelines. So I don't know if there are different guidelines for institutional purposes than there are for residential purposes, but the comments here in this report have been clear that we do meet the guidelines, that there are no guidelines in that residential topology that speak to no parking there, and that we are consistent with those guidelines.
Let me get a clarification for you. Mr. Trevel, is that true?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, sorry. There are different types of guidelines for different types of uses. So institutional does have different provisions than mixed-use provisions. So the mixed-use provisions do not specifically talk to the preferred location for parking, whereas institutional do. So there is a distinction being made in our guideline document.
So you're telling me that our urban design manual does not make any distinction for mixed use as to where the developer places parking?
That's correct, and that was reviewed by Caldoun at the region for some clarity and assistance as well.
And that's your opinion too as well, Mr. Trevel?
It's the guideline, that's correct.
Okay, Councillor, so that's now saying that there's nothing in our design manual that's saying that they have to hold fast and true to where the parking goes. Councillor
one
Bell?
last question.
Okay, Councillor Chichak?
and that would be, to have a dispute on this goes where from here, Mr. Trevel?
Very important question, Councillor. Mr. Trevel?
The Ontario Municipal Board, should there be an appeal by either the applicant or a neighbor or anyone of that nature.
And that's why I'm asking. So we're at a very, very pivotal point on all sides. And so my question that I started with, Mr. Mayor, was, does the developer have an issue, or does the developer want to take this back? Because if nobody's happy, or only some people are happy, there's a mediation process to the OMB, but it's a heck of a long process.
Sure it is.
So I'm asking, that was the purpose for my ask originally, Mr. Mayor.
I know where you were going,
I knew you
Councillor.
knew where I was going. And Councillor Bell, I applaud you for bringing this forward, but I think it's something that we do have to, I leave it in your hands. If there's no objection, I have my vote here tonight.
Sir?
Through your mayor, we've been with this design for a considerable length of time. It's been with the township, it's been with the region since 2014. So, I mean, the design's been here. Everyone from a staff perspective is on side with the development. The guidelines are clear in that we adhere to those specific requirements. I can't speak to the specific motion, but our opinion is that the design is good, it meets good planning, it's the compatibility and interface between uses is sufficient, the buffering from the street is sufficient to provide a good urban design or a good streetscape. You still do have the view of buildings, it's just there is not, there's a slightly larger separation between what would be a window street, which is spoken to in the guidelines, which is what you would see on the Highway 20 side, versus the stream side's frontage, which is the window street, which is consistent with the guidelines, plus some parking spaces and enhanced landscaping and small wall features to really perk that up. So we feel that this is good design and this is the appropriate design. It's hard to speak to whether flipping the unit is, or flipping the units on the front or parking in the behind or in the middle. It's hard to speak to whether that's going to, jeopardize the entire project or whether it can be accommodated without actually having had that opportunity to run through those design things. It's unfortunately not the easiest to just look at the plan, look at the pretty picture on the page up there and tell you that, yeah, we can flip this. I think if we could have done that, we probably would have done that.
So you're frustrating me. So I'm going to play the devil. No, seriously, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. And I don't, just because you've heard what you've heard around this horseshoe, don't take, for instance, not everybody has spoken. So there might be people who actually do agree with you and your design. But you're not doing yourself any injustice right now because you heard clearly the last time that you were here to said they didn't want parking along Streamside. And yet you've had a couple of months to go back and toss that around, but you haven't run the program yet to see what that would look like. Now again, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I may not be in agreement with Councillor Bell's amendment, but you're not doing yourself any justice right here telling me why you think what you've presented yet again the second time when we went back and told you to change it, why it's good. Why is it good planning? What is it? I know one thing is that we all had the perception that the parking was for mixed use when it's not. The parking relied on, Mr. Trouble, what did it rely on? Commercial, right? Institutional. So we've already kind of debunked that one theory, that parking doesn't apply to mixed use. So check mark for you. But beyond that, why haven't you gone back and redone this? Is it because you'll gain more units? Or is it because you'll gain less units? Or why? Tell me why. Like you had the heads up that some councillors going back a couple of months ago were not happy with your design and yet you still haven't changed it. Tell me why.
So when we hear all these comments, we take them back, we sit around with the developer, with John Arians, myself, our engineers. We sit around and we see what are the points people have said, what can be accommodated, what can we move, what can we not move, what do we think still meets acceptable planning or good planning. Right. And in regard to parking, and I mean, good urban design often talks about, best use is one thing, but acceptable, we provide the buffer, we provide the landscape to make that use acceptable from an urban design perspective. So we go back, we figure, we take all of these things into account and we then modify the plan. So looking at comments, looking at the urban design, we think that we stuck with our decision that it was appropriate to maintain the parking there, to buffer it with enhanced landscaping like we've always shown, to have the retained, the masonry, that wall features that we've done, like these things to shield the parking. So we've gone through that design exercise.
Okay. Okay. To what he just said, Councillor Trombetta?
To add to it.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jared, right?
Yes.
Yes. I think we're trying to get the point across, and I'm trying to, I kind of agree with the mayor here. You have a timeline to come back, and I understand that Mr. Trouble spoke to you around 2 o'clock and the timing was tight. So obviously the guidelines for our urban design was really not met. You're assuming that it was met because we had some concerns last time, but now it's came back as the same, as the mayor just said. It's came back the same. It hasn't changed. So this is the opportunity where we're saying, maybe not go back to the drawing board, but go back to talk to Mr. Treble about the urban design and get it to where we want it as a standard, and possibly come back to the next planning meeting and we can discuss it as a further matter. But at the moment, we're not happy because it hasn't met the guidelines that we set out for our urban design. And we want to be consistent across the board. So that's where we are, where I'm at today. So I don't know the rest around the horseshoe, but that's where I'm at today. So just to clarify more to what the mayor said, that's where I'm at. So I'll leave it up to the mayor. I know you have a motion in front of you. So if you want to speak to that, you can as well. Jared, thank you.
Sorry, I have a representative from Phelps Homes here. You can maybe speak a little further.
Sure.
Their intent or what they're willing to do.
Mr. Samus, how are you?
Good, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'm David Samus from Phelps Homes. Obviously, we're working in partnership with Catalina Construction on the project. We're the builder, they're the developer, so there's a bit of a differentiation between our role and some of the other developments in Smithville. But when I did read the staff report, I did see that it seems Mr. Treble and his staff have put together, and we're thankful for the report as far as guidance when they do talk about the parking and visitor parking. We have been involved in the project for probably about a year and a half or so. We do note that the site, it is a square site, and we have internally contemplated different ways to move and position parking on the property. We do feel that it is probably the best option, as Mr. Marcus has said. I think that's all I can say very quickly.
Okay, that's fine. So, what's your name again? Bell? Councillor Bell, please, for a second time. I'm so sorry.
Just, there's a few things been said. Marcus says there's no time. He knew back in October, so there wasn't just a phone call this afternoon to say, hey, Councillor Bell's not happy with your parking arrangements. This was clearly stated in October, and correct me, I could be wrong, but I believe Marcus said, yep, I hear you loud and clear, and went away with that message. And, they talk about the parking spaces. We just want parking spaces to go to the back of the townhouse, bring that forward. I've looked at the drawings. I don't see it being a major thing to do. We've already allowed one parking spot to be given up instead of meeting the requirement. We're allowing you to take one away. There's other things that we could be doing. I don't see this being a major issue. All of a sudden, he's not aware of our urban design plan. Sorry, I have to disagree. I'm sure you're aware of the urban design plan that was out there. You went back, you said you sit around, you talk about the last meeting, and yet you decided not to try to adjust the parking to make it fit to come back tonight. Councilor Chicha has graciously offered to send you away and come back in February. Or choice two is move this into option one, we vote on it tonight and put it through and you move forward. And with that said, I'll leave the choice up to you gentlemen.
Councillor Belsma?
See, and I can appreciate there's two constraints here, and one of them is the density factor, and I've spoke against this before. The province is imposing upon us density constraints, which we're not even meeting with this development. So that's on the one side. They want things more and more dense, probably in the order of about 50% more dense than even this proposal. And so the developer is trying to come up to that level, and then and try to get the most on the site. And I can appreciate that to a certain degree, or I can appreciate it in the sense that I recognize what he's trying to do. On a personal level, I've always cringed as a councillor of West Lincoln when these high density surveys do come forward. because it's certainly not the type of property that I would favor. It's not in my housing market, and I'm not in the market. But I just for the life of me can't figure out why people don't want a nice backyard and a front yard and all those kinds of things, consistent with the dwellings that are just abutting this proposal and the one that, to the south. So I guess we have a bit of a schizophrenia happening. I mean no disrespect to that, but we have this this tension between trying to get our densities up and which is an imposition upon us by the province, and then our own designs, which are in a sense limiting the ability for that high density, because ultimately really the solution, as Councillor Bell is putting it, is to move the parking away from there and just kind of shimming things around there. I really don't think that we can do this without sacrificing some of the units. I think that's the white elephant that we're really not coming to, and I'm getting little nods from people. At the end of the day, we're going to have a less dense development if we're going to satisfy this idea in our design thing. So I guess what I'm trying to do is clarify what's more important to us. Is it the design manual or is it the province imposition about density? Because if we want consistent across the board. So tonight, maybe my little speaking here right now is just basically to clarify what do we want to achieve. Is it density or is it our design manual and the appearance? And personally, I favor the appearance. I really do. I'm not a big fan of these high density, as I've spoken many times before with regards to these types of things. I, generally speaking, prefer less units, more space around them, and I'm not always in favor of the hundreds of amendments that need to be made and the shoehorns and the butter that's required to get these units all in. So no further. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. Mr. Marcus, come up to the mic here for a second. Pay attention because I'm going to be talking to you. I don't agree with councillors around this table. I think your development is just fine, and I'll tell you why. Because the front of the property is onto Highway 20. There is no parking on Highway 20. Therefore, it is totally different than the other development off of Town Line Road. The parking that is on Streamside on the east side is directly across from the parking on the west side from the school. Therefore, I believe with extra buffering, you've done what you've been asked to do. You talk about the OMB hearing from 2012. You have not offended anybody with that OMB hearing. As Mr. Treble has talked earlier, you've met all the different criteria. You are staying away from the southwest corner of Streamside and the development that is there. You are moving now 18 feet or 18 meters or, let me get my number straight here.
18 meters.
60 feet, 18 meters now, where before it was 50 feet. You, in my opinion, are going above and beyond. The elephant in the room is that if you change the parking, you are going to lose units, no question about it. And I don't know why you just don't come out and say that. You are a developer, for God's sakes, and a consultant. That's, and I mean, we've talked about the fact here that in Toronto, or what the province wants, is a whole lot more intensification than what you're offering here. The other thing is that I do not want to see rear backyards fronting on Streamside or onto Highway 20. I don't want that. I actually kind of sort of like the way you're going to put the parking on Streamside and leave that road open along Highway 20, along with the grassy knoll and with the sidewalk. I like that, actually. So in my opinion, I think that, with the mixed use housing and the reason why we need more development and we need more intensification is because we need more mixed-use housing in West Lincoln. The prices are going through the roof because the only lots that there is to buy out there are 50-foot by 135 deep, semi-detached houses. There is no use for everybody to come into West Lincoln. So, I mean, for that purpose, I think you actually have been able to bring more housing and a bunch of different housing here to the West Lincoln area. And I did say this, I said, I do not want rear yards facing along Streamside or Highway 20. In short, gentlemen, I don't think you have a bad proposal. I think what you've done is you haven't been able to tell us why it is a good proposal. You haven't been able to stand up there and say, this is why we want it and this is why we haven't changed it. And you look quite foolish because you were asked to do something, come back with a different design, and it's okay to dig your heels in the ground, but you got to tell us why. And you haven't done that. You haven't sold me. You haven't sold these councilors yet. Because really, you have all the tools, and I've given you the bullets in the gun to actually talk about even the design manual. It doesn't talk about parking in the design manual for mixed use, only for commercial. But you didn't even say that. I had to pull that out of you, like pulling a tooth out of your head. So, I mean, I will be voting against this amendment right now. I could maybe be the only one, I'm not sure. But I think that the design that you have is fine, perfect for that area. And for the very fact that the parking on the east matches the parking on the west. Thank you. Any other councilors? Go ahead.
I guess I have concerns with what you just said in the sense that you don't want backyards facing on the stream side. Me personally, if the developer come back and said, we're going to put the yards facing stream side, that would be in spite of what's happening. There's no reason to flip these townhouses around so the yards are facing on the stream side. That would be just total in spite. That's all that would be. To me, looking at this plan right now, just looking, I don't have all the measurements that I'm bringing up big enough, but it's a case of moving the driveway west, coming in, moving your townhouses, putting the road around the back and taking it around. I don't see it being major, but I disagree with your comment about wanting yards facing the roadway, okay? Again, that's in spite. That's all I got to say.
So, just for clarification, Councillor, are you asking for parking to be in the rear of the units? Is that what you're asking for? The roadway and the parking to be in the rear of the units?
Not to have them visible. Same as what we did for the church.
And Mr. Treble, where would we put parking if we didn't put it where it is right now? Where would it go? In the southeast corner?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the intent of what I am hearing is that the townhouse units facing Streamside would be pulled immediately out to the street, and the condominium road would go up behind. So
isn't that what I just said?
Parking would be behind it, to the east of the first row of units.
Are we able to pull the map up that you had, Marcus, earlier? And Mr. Treble, can you grab a pointer?
129.
I'd like it up on the screen, please.
So would I.
And Mr. Treble, can you then? Yes. Jared. What did I say?
Marcus.
Sorry. Okay. But is Marcus your last name? Yes. Okay, so I wasn't that far off. Okay. So I'm sorry, folks, but I need to understand if parking isn't going to be along Streamside, where are we going to put it? Okay, there you go. You had it. Okay, go ahead.
I think the intent would be to, if I'm hearing Mr. Bell right, pull these units straight forward and then have the street go there.
So again, it's the parking and the street in the backyard. Okay. Okay. And then so the block along the north, which fronts onto Regional Road 20, would that stay the same?
Yeah.
Councillor? Councillor? If the block that's along Regional Road 20, would that stay the same, or would that get pushed up closer north to Highway 20?
Nothing else to change. It's very simple. Where the parking spots are now, they're shown on the sketch. They get removed. The 2, 4, 6, 8 townhouses that are there are going to come forward up the stream side.
Okay.
The parking lot entrance, or the entrance to the complex that's here, is going to come further west, line up with the existing road, come in with your townhouses being moved forward. You can put a road in behind it, I don't think they're gonna lose any space because your parking spots are gonna go back in there.
You
So,
want to show us on the video?
yeah, can you show us on the Big Mac, Councillor Bell, please?
I think what Tara's saying is.
The west is this way.
The entrance would be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that the road then goes there, and these units are sitting out there, and the parking and road would be back in here.
But it doesn't line up with the entrance to the school, though?
No.
You would be offsetting?
It would be offset from the school.
Geometrically, does that matter?
That's, through you, Mr. Mayor, that's more a public works question.
Mr. Julian, geometrically, if the entrance is not abutting or not across from the entrance to the complex, does that matter? Show them again, please, Mr.
The school is here, and Mr. Bell's proposal would move the entrance to the condominium to here, so they're offset.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the members of council, what I see would be more looking at the radiuses required. I don't see on a local residential road there being a big issue with the offset there, but it'd be the radiuses to get in. And I think these are a bit narrower on being a condo.
This is a condo road.
Okay, Councillor Balsma?
Yeah, just another quick question, and I think one thing that's really quite significant, and maybe Councillor Bell could just explain, there's 8 driveways along that west side, and I think what he's proposing is that those driveways exit right onto Streamside as part of the proposal. Is that true? The 8 driveways on the west side for units 46 down to 39 inclusive, those driveways would exit right onto Streamside. I think that's what he's proposing.
How would they do that?
Oh, I don't know. If you move them right over, then you'd have a road on both sides?
You're only, no. Yeah, the houses at the front, it'd be just like going down the street and seeing a house. It's there's your driveway, so you pull right into it.
So in other words, what they've done is, so the developer has put out like an internal road structure.
Window street.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, that's the term. And what Councillor Bell is proposing is that those 8 driveways on that side come right onto Streamside Drive with a main access at the bottom, and then in behind it would be that road.
Yes.
So
And then that you would pull in at the back too
so
as well.
those eight residents would have direct access to Streamside, not through the windows.
They'd walk out their front door right onto the sidewalk. And that's part, and Councilor Bell's right. That's done on Livingston Avenue in Grimsby.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so for clarity, I think that would help some of the people understand what Councilor Bell is proposing, that those 8 would be right on, and then the garden, would you call that? The window street would be in behind them and have parking on it.
It's no longer a window street. A window street is pretty and it's got landscaping, et cetera.
Yeah.
If you moved it internal, you'd have a condominium road.
Yes, it
behind
would
the
be a
houses.
condominium road, almost like an alleyway, like if you're familiar with some of those condo things. Where you have
I have a reason which couldn't upset people there, but I'll go to Mr. Treble first.
Just staff, I don't think would be prepared to support 8 driveways onto Streamside. The driveways
No,
would have
he-
to be onto the internal.
Yes. No, he's not saying that. He's saying move the 8 condos right up onto Streamside, so you walk out your front door, right onto the sidewalk. For those 8 along the west side on Streamside, you would have to come in and park in the back.
Right.
And then the parking would be on the opposite side of the street, on west side there. Now, the only complaint that I can see is that when you put your parking spots now on the east side of the street, so remember, you're coming in the back, right? So you put all your parking spots coming all the way down. If you put all your parking spots coming all the way down here, because remember, here's the road now, people, when they pull in, they're going to be shining their lights on 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, all the way around that horseshoe. That can be an issue. So if you have the parking that goes along there, people pulling in with their headlights, better have some kind of barrier there, landscaping, so that people don't get their headlights.
We're not qualified to do this.
Yeah.
May I?
Yes.
Gentlemen, we're not designers, we're not landscape architects, we're not architects, we're not civil, let me use one's a civil engineer, but, we're not engineers here. Like I said, we're not design engineers. I think it needs to go back with with the thought process of, like we said, our concerns are the parking that are coming to Streamside. Again, for me, it's not consistent. For the mayor, maybe it could be consistent, but for me, it's not consistent. We can't dictate where the lights are going to be showing, where the entrance are, all that. That's up to you guys to design it. That's not up for us to decide how that works. We've got to come back with a design that we're satisfied with. So I know the mayor has a motion on the table. I just want to get out of this talking on how everything should work and this and that. Again, we're not designers. So again, we have an amendment. We have an amendment on the table. Can we just move forward for this? Thank you.
Councillor Chichuk.
Yeah, and I guess as a final remark from me, Mr. Mayor, on the amendment that's on the floor, I would say that if the amendment didn't pass, that this should be referred back to staff, and that I give the developers the chance and opportunity to do that, because then there would be an opportunity to talk with the community and to determine whether or not they're in favor in any other kind or the existing. If this is what comes back to us, and you have more support from the community, and maybe that's not possible because they're fixed in their position as well, wouldn't now be the more appropriate, less costly, and less time-consuming way to get this resolved, rather than the options that befall you if we pass it or don't, because somebody may decide they want it resolved by a third party, and that will take time, energy, and money, and I hate to see that effort. That's all I'm saying. So you could actually ask for us to take this back and bring it back in February. I know that's 2 months gone because January's meeting is now being canceled. So I leave it with you, Mr. Samus.
It's not Mr. Trompetta's resolution. He could pull the January resolution off, right? And still come back.
Say that again?
I saw your resolution for canceling January. You can pull that back.
Well, I'm not chair of that. That's Councillor Chichuk. You got to ask her about
And since you've disregarded me, you've got about as much hope.
chair of that meeting. That's hers. So
Can I hear the red? We've talked in circles, and I don't.
Sure. Okay. So basically, the amendment put forward by Councillor Bell, and I'm sorry, Councillor, you did want to speak about this again, but the amendment says that recommendation 4 of the report PD 15316 be amended as follows. That the words "as per attachment 4" be deleted and replaced with "as modified" to flip the townhouses and the parking areas along Streamside Drive. So those 8 ones along Streamside Drive, okay? And by adding the following at the end of the recommendation with the necessary changes to condition 1 of attachment 5 as contained in this modified recommendation. Councillor Bell is saying to you, he's told you from the beginning, he wants those houses along Streamside on Streamside. And then take that road that is internal, that was on the west side, make it now on the east side. So for those block of 8, you're going to come in and you're going to park in the rear. My question to you is, where are you going to put the 26 parking spots on the inside?
15.
Sorry, is there 15 along there, Councillor? Thank you. The 15. So the 26 is throughout the complex.
There's 2 other spots.
Yeah. So that's my question to you that you have to think about. Where are you going to put those 15 spots? Are you giving up any units? Are you gaining units? I don't know. You design it. And then what are you going to do about the flashing headlights that are going to project eastward? No, that's a concern, Councillor. Don't laugh at that. That's a concern. Right? It's not ours to figure out, but it is a concern. David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Chichuk and Councillor Trombetta for your points. I guess my concern in modifying the resolution it is tonight, it may prove not to be workable as a concept that we could be ultimately stuck with.
I agree.
I think we're also concerned as a builder-developer as far as time is concerned, as Councillor Chichuk has alluded to. I understand the Planning Committee is looking to move and not have a January meeting. I would suggest that we would like to have a meeting still occur in January, allow us time to come back, address the concerns that have been raised tonight in conjunction with Mr. Treble and his staff and engineering, just to make sure we fully evaluate the options we've heard here tonight. And that way we can come back and hopefully satisfy Council Bell, et cetera, with the concerns that have been raised tonight. And that would be my suggestion tonight.
Councillor
Mr. Mayor-
Chichak.
Mr. Mayor, I have spoken with staff, and we had the reason to defer or to ask for the meeting to be canceled was at my direction as chair of the committee, such that we did not have sufficient items that were ready to proceed forward that would warrant a committee meeting. But this is important. This is a gateway to our community. This is something that we can't do because we've all agreed that we don't want to be there.
Yeah.
We don't want to see this deferred and delayed endlessly. But if the developer were able to hold the meetings that were required, to take a look at this and come back to show us why it's good planning and to try and make the residents understand why this is better than any other alternative, we might be able to hold the meeting specifically just for this application, because that is all we will have time for. And I will ask that the meeting not be canceled in January, but that we deal with this item. So it would be a rather short meeting, and it would give an opportunity for the professionals to have a look at what the options are, rather than us trying to predetermine. So
The elephant in the room here, the only issue is that the director of planning has
made
other
a
plans.
recommendation.
Yes.
The Director of Planning doesn't have to do the presentation for this. Am I right, through you, Mr. Mayor? This would be something where a new presentation will be brought forward and work has been done over the next 4 weeks. I think that this is one single item.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the planner too, Garrett, could certainly be in attendance if council or committee chooses to meet on the 9th, I think it is. I won't be available.
No, that's been
But,
discussed.
Most of the work's been done, so we just have to see a revised design, which at this
Okay.
point, I don't even know what it would look like really, whether it's doable.
Councillor Chichak, you are the chair of the planning department. You see any reason why we couldn't put this on Public Works?
We could we move the planning meeting to the Public Works night and do all three committees? And this is the only item on the planning.
Through you, members of council, I was going to suggest if it's only one item, instead of drawing the whole committee in for one item, that perhaps you have a special planning meeting on the same night as admin and public works.
You've taught me well, Grasshopper.
Okay, so that will change the next resolution that we have going forward. Okay, so are we dealing with this amendment? Councillor Bell?
I don't have a problem withdrawing the amendment, okay, if they're willing to come back in February. January, sorry, my mistake, with something new. And my last thing is, you talked about the headlights,
Yeah.
sorry, but, we just approved a development just down the road, and headlights was brought up by residents, with cars going in, shining, didn't seem to be an issue. And I don't think this is an issue with headlights. It's just, I don't know. But
What,
if they're
brief my memory here, what,
the RV development that's going with the condos down by Cherry Lane, when they come off the street, you got houses there pulling into the laneway, people were worried about headlights, and people coming out of it, living across the road, were worried about the headlights in their front windows. And it wasn't an issue, and I don't see this being an issue, sorry. But anyway, regardless, I'm just saying, if they're gonna come back in January, and you're gonna bring something back that we can all live with, I'm all for it. I'll withdraw that, take it off the table, and we'll see you in January. Have a good Christmas.
Councillor Bosma, are you as the seconder, are you willing to withdraw it?
Yeah, sure.
And we should probably still keep this motion, so can we have a referral motion instead? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Councillor Bell, would you like to refer, or Councillor Bosma? Okay.
Then I move that we refer this back to staff for coming back to us on it would be the January 9th.
No,
No.
16th. 16th. On January the 16th as a one-item committee meeting.
A one-off item on the Public Works and Recreation Committee
No.
meeting? Special planning meeting? Okay. Okay.
That's my motion.
Video conference.
Okay, so refer it to staff, so who's seconded, Councillor Gannan? So moved by Councillor Bosma, second by Councillor Gannan, that we refer this back to staff and have the findings come back at our one-off special planning meeting on December 16th. January 16th. Thank you. We're all tired. Sorry. Okay, so that's the amendment. That's been dealt with. So is this the original motion? It's the referral. So all those in favor of the referral? That's carried. So it's referred. So then this one's referred.
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen, you have your marching orders. Make it so, number one.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I noticed that.
Okay, we will now move on to, where are we here? So the Director of Planning and Building, Mr. Brian Treble, report number PD 15716 is a recommendation report, draft new zoning bylaw. This is the draft new zoning bylaw to be provided at the meeting, which it was. Councillor Rayner, who stepped out of the room, has the resolution. Councillor Trombetta, can you move that, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Was it still moved by, or just me? Change it up? Okay.
You have to sign, cross his name out, and Councillor Chichak, can you second that?
I guess I could have, yeah. But let's do it first properly. Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chichak, that the report PD 157-16 regarding a draft new zoning bylaw dated December 12, 2016 be received, and that staff be authorized to hold a public meeting on February 2017 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting to consider the final draft zoning bylaw along with 2 minor changes to the Township of West Lincoln official plan as outlined in this report.
Councillor, you've heard the resolution. Moved by Councillor Trombetta and second by Councillor Chichak. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, G, Councillor Chichak, cancellation of January Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting.
Stream side.
Councillor Trombetta, you have that resolution,
Yes,
please.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chichak. Maybe this will have to also go to the clerk. That the January 9th, 2016 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee be and is hereby canceled, and then we're going to have a new one. So if you want to put it, we have some comments made by Councillor Chichak. Moved to January 16th to deal with obviously this, but if you want to put it properly, then we can move that.
Clerk will fill that out properly. Moved by Councillor Trombetta and second by Councillor Chichak that the January 9th, 2016 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting being held be canceled or moved.
Move to the January 16th to deal only with Phelps, stream side.
Should deal only with Phelps, Catalina Streamside Development. Okay? Questions or comments, councillors? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Where'd he go?
He's in Hawaii.
Okay, members of the gallery, is that clear? We will be having the planning meeting on January 16th, which is actually at the Public Works and Recreation, so it'll be a special planning meeting. Okay?
Nothing was agreed.
Why don't you guys call each other and talk to each other?
To be honest with you, I don't even believe that we were talking about Belkystad. We were just simply talking about the parking, but all of that will be considered at the January 16th meeting. Okay? Sure you can. Yeah. Just call tomorrow, Brian or Garrett, or they're very communicative. Is that the word? Okay, Section C, Administration, Finance, Fire items. Dennis Fisher, Mr. Fisher, Fire Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Station 1 had 32 calls, Station 2 had 9, and Pelham Down East End had 1. So fairly busy month for Station 1. Outside of that, pretty quiet for November. Nothing in fire prevention, nothing in the fleet. Both stations were in the Santa Claus Parade. Station 2 rentals are ongoing. We did do 2 mutual aid calls in Grimsby over the course of November, but outside of that, outside of Station 1 being substantially busy. for 32 calls. It was a bad month.
Okay. Councilors, any questions or comments for the chief? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to I, which is an amendment to Budget 216. Treasurer Director of Finance, Ms. Donna D. Philippis, report RFDT 3416, budget status report as of November 30th, 216. This is an amendment to budget. Councilor Bell, you have the resolution, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Trombetta. Amended to budget 2016, that report RFD-T-34-16 regarding the November 30th, 2016 budget status report amended to budget be received for information, and that the budget amendment be approved to increase the zoning bylaw projected budget by $7,500, which will be financed through the development charges.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Bell and seconded by Councilor, who did you say? Trombetta. Thank you. Any questions or comments? We're going to do what we do with the regions. We do our signature and then we print underneath it our names.
We do print, but you can't read that either.
Yes, I can. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, amendment to budgets 216, Deputy Clerk Joanne Chime and Clerk Carolyn Langley. Report RFDC 1816, amendment to budget 216 budget, certification of election expenses, candidate financial statements, and voter turnout information. Councilor Bosma, you have that resolution, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cheryl Neat Handwriting Ganan.
Teacher.
Report RFDC-18 2016 dated December 12, 2016 regarding certification of by-election expenses, candidate financial statements, and voter turnout information be received, and that the 2016 by-election cost of $19,987.67 be financed through the transfer from the contingency reserve.
Wow, Madam Clerk. That was a $20,000 budget. You got in $12.34. Very good. Under budget. That's awesome. And on time. On budget, on time.
Under budget.
Under budget, on time. All those in favor? Carried. Well, that was the closest budget line I've ever seen. Okay, the next one, K, is under my name, rotation of committee chairs. Councilor Chichuk, you have that resolution, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, another long one. That, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Rayner, that the chairs and vice chairs for standing committees of council be and are hereby established as follows until otherwise directed by council resolution. That Planning, Building, Environmental Committee, Chair Joanne Chichok, Vice Chair Cheryl Ganan, that Administrative Finance Fire Committee be chaired by Terry Bell, Vice Chair Mike Rayner, and that Public Works Recreation Arena Committee be chaired by Jason Trombetta and vice chaired by Dave Bilsma.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution moved by Councilor Chichuk and seconded by Councilor Rayner. Any questions or comments? The only comment I has is please, chairs and co-chairs, if you can get a hold of your prospective senior management and figure out what your pre-agenda schedule is going to look like. I know everybody's going to be busy over holidays, but if we can get that in before Christmas, it'd be appreciated. What?
What do you want?
I want the chairs to talk to the senior management of the prospective committees to figure out a pre-agenda schedule. Don't worry about it. That's okay. All those favor? All those in favor? Carried.
For committee. It's not for you, it's for him. That's what he was talking about, take the chair.
Good.
I understand.
Councilor Joanne Chichuk, extension of term on board of Niagara Peninsula Energy Incorporated. Councilor Ganan, you have that resolution.
Yes, I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Jason Trombetta that the Township of West Lincoln Council hereby nominates Councilor Joanne Chichok for appointment to the Board of Niagara Peninsula Energy, Inc. for an additional one-year term from January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018.
Councilors, you've heard the resolution by Councilor Ganan, second by Councilor Trombetta. Comments or questions? I have a comment, actually. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Councillor Chichuk. As you know, from the year 2010 and then 2014, I have stepped down and council has voted for you to be a part of the board of the Niagara Peninsula Energy. I'm asking for the fourth year, for the first time in 8 years, if I could take that appointment and get a little better handle on the Niagara Peninsula Energy Incorporated and the business at hand.
Mayor Joyner, thank you very much for that. At the beginning of this term, we were provided with opportunities to put forward what it is we wanted, and you chose a number of committees, and I asked for that specific one. I've now made it to represent this community, and am the treasurer for that organization, and we can only appoint for 3 years. So this was the time to put forward the fourth year, so that I could have the final year that was agreed to at the outside of this term. I think I've shown my influence and work to try and ensure that. And if you wish to have answers from this committee, from NPEI, I'd be happy to hold meetings that are required in camera and provide that for all of council. You are also on the Holdco, which does get a lot of the information anyway. So between the Conservation Authority and the Holdco, you're getting a very good broad view of what it is that West Lincoln has to benefit from the various boards that we have. And I would ask that this appointment continue to be mine until the end of term, as was outlined at the beginning of the term. Thank you.
Okay, so, and unfortunately, we're going to make council decide here. So, seeing any more comments or questions? All those in favor? That is carried. We will move on to members of committee, verbal updates from members of boards and committees. Is there any members of committees that would like to report? Councillor Bilesma?
Just so on the Heritage Committee, there's been some activities. It was kind of interrupted a little bit with the moving on of Rochelle, and so we're up and going, and we got some ideas for the Canada 150, which of course we're going to see a lot of hype about from various levels of government, and at the municipal level, I know that there's some things happening, and so exciting things that are coming forward. So I just want to give a heads up that hopefully we'll be making a presentation from the Heritage Committee soon.
Okay, thank you. Any other ABCs that'd like to speak? No? Okay, we'll move on. Section C, Public Works Recreation Arena items. Director of Public Works and Engineering, Brent Julian, and Manager of Operations, Steve McGean. The recommendation report is RFD PW 4216, and it's a legal dumping working group and Crime Stoppers Memorandum of Understanding. Councillor Rayner, can you read out that MOU, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councillor Jason Trombetta that report RFD PW 40-2016 Illegal Dumping Working Group and Crime Stoppers Memorandum Understanding dated December 12, 2016 be received, and that staff be authorized to enter into a Memorandum of Understanding Attachment A with Crime Stoppers in Niagara Region to pursue a partnership to establish an alternative public working mechanism for anonymous illegal dumping tips and payment for such tips as set out in Schedule A of the Memorandum of Understanding.
Councillors, you've heard the resolution, moved by Councillor Rayner and seconded by Councillor Trombetta. Any questions or comments? I think this is a good thing, actually, because there's a lot of illegal dumping that happens all across Niagara, and I know that actually down by Silverdale Gun Club, there was a major dumping on that road, and some very concerned neighbors, perhaps along that street, noticed, and they went out there and they went through the garbage and they actually caught the person. This hardly ever happens, but they found out by using receipts who that person was that did the dumping. So I think it's a very worthy memorandum of understanding that we've created with Crime Stoppers of Niagara. Seeing no more comments or questions, I call the vote. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, we'll move on to miscellaneous items. The next item in Section E is under my name, and this is an update for the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital. And I've got a little report here, councillors, calling it West Lincoln Memorial Hospital Update. I'll read it out. Recently, councillors, there was an article in the Grimsby Lincoln News titled Grimsby Bands Together with Municipalities to Get New Hospital. I wish it would have said Grimsby Bands Together with West Niagara Communities to Get New Hospital. It does go on to say who the communities are. Of course, we are one of them. And as reported in the article, Mayor Sandra Easton, Mayor Bob Bentley, and I, as well as our prospective CAOs, have been meeting to discuss how we can help support Hamilton Health Sciences move along their plans for our new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital rebuild. The three mayors of West Niagara and our prospective CAOs are working on a media campaign strategy that will help support Hamilton Health Sciences in their lobbying efforts with the province and the LHINs. With the help of the HHS, we want the province and the LHINs office to recognize the fact that building a new West Lincoln Memorial Hospital is priority number one for our West Niagara constituents. West Niagara mayors and CAOs are coming together to reinforce the concerns of our local residents and wanting a new facility sooner than later. We also know that the LHIN will be making a formal recommendation to the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care about whether or not to move forward with the Hamilton Health Sciences plan. So it's our opinion that now is the time to be prudent and ask for a delegation at the upcoming meeting on December 14th at the LHIN's office in Grimsby. We are pleased that our West Lincoln Memorial Hospital is now part of the Hamilton Health Sciences family, and we believe that West Lincoln Memorial can play an integral cog in the HHS wheel. And lastly, we know that Minister Hoskins is well aware of the HHS plan for West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, and the province absolutely loves our model of care here in West Niagara. There's never a doubt there. So there is absolutely no hidden agenda here, just that the three mayors of West Niagara just want to encourage the minister and the LHINs to move the process along, because last time the decision got very political and we want to avoid this time around. Okay? Questions or comments? Thank you. Members of council, council remarks. We'll start on my right, your left. Councillor Bell. Councillor Bowsma.
Just one brief one. The staff appreciation dinner, Christmas dinner, was enjoyed by myself. I think by most, but maybe by all. The choir that was presenting was enthusiastic and enjoyable, and the organizers should be commended for improving the entertainment.
It couldn't get much worse from last year, could it? Councillor Gannon.
I also enjoyed that dinner and was asked by a few people where my husband was, and he attended the Silverdale dinner. And I would just like to make a quick comment on how I enjoyed the township dinner, but how successful the Silverdale dinner was. And I'm not sure if people are aware, but Silverdale community put on a free dinner, and to show your appreciation for their work and the donation of whatever, food items and so on, they suggest you make a donation to community care. And they actually raised over $3,500 through the donations to the dinner, approximately 75 people, that's all they can hold. But they raffle off various other things, and so it was successful all around. A good dinner presented by some people who really have their heart in helping the community, and certainly Community Care was very grateful to receive that donation at this time of year.
And Councillor, the pie's not bad either. No. Yeah, thank you for that comment about Silverdale. Councillor Chichuk?
I do, Mr. Mayor. I have one thing that I'd like to bring forward, and I was just reminded of it today as I was leaving for this meeting. And since we've been celebrating all of the various people tonight, we have a new first for West Lincoln, and I think it's worthwhile mentioning, and that is that the two young people in West Lincoln have worked hard over the past number of years, and Jonathan Dugdale and Matea Ludwig were put Grand and Reserve Champion in Showmanship for Goats at the Royal Winter Fair recently. That is in honor. That is a very tight competition, and they were in the ring for over an hour and a half. that may not seem long, but when you're dragging goats around and showing
eternity.
showmanship, it is an eternity. But these two young people I've known since they were very young. I had nothing to do with it. Their leaders have focused on producing some of the best showmen in Ontario. And this, I would hope that sometime in the very near future, we would have both Jonathan and Matea in and present them with a plaque marking this achievement. But it was truly an honor to watch them. It was truly a magnificent opportunity for them. And I know that we will all give them our highest regard in the near future. Number two, I did enjoy being at the dinner the other night for our staff and to celebrate this festive season, and to thank our staff for the immense amount of work that they do throughout the year. So it was a wonderful evening, and I am sorry that I had to run off, but I know that there was good sentiment and good merriment going on after I left. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Trombetta?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got a bunch of things, and maybe you can also continue on with this. Niagara is bidding for the 2021 Canada Games for the Niagara region. Just give a little bit of history for people around the table. So be a part, show your support, and add our name to a bid. So Niagara is bidding against 3 other Ontario communities to hold this incredible event. It's a large multi-sport event in Canada with our targeting our next generation of champions. United 13 provinces and territories celebrate of Canada, sports and culture. Canada Summer Games are held every 4 years and rotate across Canada. In 2021, it's Ontario's turn to host. The winning bid could have an economic benefit for $200 million for the Niagara region and will result in many new and upgraded sports facilities. So it's as easy as a tweet, like signing up through Facebook or Twitter. Again, we need support, and again, so we're trying to bid for the 2021 Canada Games. That's one, Mr. Mayor. So hopefully we can have everyone's support, and we can get the games to the Niagara region. It'd be great. Also, I attended the Christmas dinner with staff. It was a nice event. The magic show was actually better than I thought. It was really good. I'm still trying to figure out how we got a couple things, and it was really interesting. And yeah, Dave got his $100 back, but it was a real nice event. It's good to get a good gathering with staff and show their appreciation for all their hard work. I just wanted to say have a Merry Christmas to everyone around here, to the staff, and to the rest of my colleagues around the Horseshoe, to you and your families, and Merry Christmas, and have a great New Year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Rayner?
Thank you. I just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and all the best in the new year.
Amen.
Very good. Thank you, and also I'd like to wish all staff and the residents of West Lincoln and members of council a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, prosperous New Year. Please be safe. Visit people you haven't visited to, call people up you haven't called up in a long time, and take some time for yourself. There's such a busy life that sometimes we don't actually just kind of settle down and hunker down at home and just relax a little bit. So and read your zoning bylaw too as well. I would be appreciative. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and please don't forget if you would like to come to Stampak on Friday, 10 o'clock. That's the tour, and that's the FedDev announcement. And I think it's around a couple $1 million for Stampak, so we're very happy to hear that. So, new items of business note. Is there any new items of business? Seeing none, we'll move on to bylaws. Councillor Trombetta, you have the bylaws, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rayner that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2016-122, 2016-123, 2016-124, 2016-125, and 2016-126, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading, and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be here and authorized to sign and affix to the corporate seal thereto any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Yep. So thank you, Councillor, for reading that. Moved by Councillor Trombetta and second by Councillor Rayner. The clerk would like to speak about the two bottom 125 and 126 bylaws.
Through you to members of council, the item was referred under the planning section, therefore these bylaws are withdrawn at this time.
So I just put a line through them, right, Madam Clerk?
Yep. So it would be 122, 23, and 24 only.
Okay, councillors, everybody understand? Questions, comments? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? All those in favor?
Can I pull, we can pull one of the bylaws. Can we pull one bylaw? Or no, we cannot? To speak to it?
You can speak to the bylaw now.
Yep. I just want to remind you, we've pulled 216-125 and 216-126.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to pull another one, if I could.
Okay, which one?
I'd like to pull bylaw 216-123.
Okay. So can we vote on 122 and 124?
Sure.
Go ahead.
All those in favor of 122 and 124? That's carried. Councillor Trombetta,
We need a mover and a seconder.
who would like to second talking about 216-123? That would be Councillor Rayner as a seconder. Okay, go ahead.
So just to discuss this one, and Christmas wasn't coming that quick for you, Councillor Bell over there, so I just, again, I guess this is to redivide the municipality, the townships of Lincoln, West Lincoln into wards. I still am not supportive of the separation. I understand it did get passed, so this is the reason why I pulled it. So I just want to discuss that, and if anybody, my colleagues are on the table, want to have a discussion about it. If not, we can go to the vote. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other questions or comments about the ward boundary division? Councillor Rayner?
Just like Councillor Trombetta, I disagree with it. It's making Ward 1 impossible to cover in a reasonable period of time. It's absolutely huge beyond belief, if not a third larger than it is now. And it's just physically impossible to do, and it's not practical, so I'm not supporting it. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bell?
I would like to try to relieve Councillor Rayner of some of them duties. I don't know if it's possible to have the ward boundary line, they've used concession 7 when you come up off of 16. I don't know why they didn't go to Grimsby 8 and straight out to 20 and then down to Mountain Road and straight down to Mud. Like, I don't know if that's possible to move.
Well, I
that
think-
one line.
I can.
I think they did it because they're trying to keep the numbers equal, but
Well, but
I
there's not-
think, I understand, and we had this discussion, it was because of the numbers. That's one point I brought up, and actually I brought up, I think was last meeting, Mr. Mayor, we saw it. I think it's just the way it goes, and I think if we needed that discussion, we should have been talking with the
consultant.
The consultant who did it all right, for us to, by all means, Councillor Bell, but.
No, it was asked, but he still didn't do it, so.
Madam Clerk, do you want to respond to that, please?
Through you to members of council, there was a motion that was approved to put forward a bylaw with this division. The bylaw is before you tonight. It wasn't before you the following council, just for preparation time. So it would not be appropriate to change the boundary line now. And if you wanted to reconsider the decision you made, we would have to go back to do reconsideration of that motion. So before you is a bylaw based on an approved motion to divide the wards as were presented and approved by council.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, at what time can be reconsidered, at the next council meeting to be reconsidered?
Madam Clerk?
Give me a minute. Normally, a reconsideration is done at the same meeting or at the next meeting, and I'll just get it out to make sure we've got it right.
I didn't bring it up.
It's not too late.
I didn't ask for reconsideration.
No, you didn't.
But thanks for telling me. I didn't ask for reconsideration.
A motion to reconsider should have been given that at that council meeting or the next regular council meeting. So it would be in order to put a notice of motion, but we've passed that section on the agenda. So you would have to pass a motion to reconsider that item that you've skipped over and reconsider the entire report that was approved before. So I
Tonight.
suggest that, yeah.
Should have.
Okay, so it has to be done by somebody who is in the,
Majority.
voted in the majority, which I don't believe, Councilor Trombetta, that you did
I was not in the majority, Mr. Mayor.
Then you could not reconsider this motion.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Mayor,
Just move on.
call the vote.
Okay. Oh, folks, I'll call the vote on 216-123. All those in favor? That is carried.
Okay, that's this one.
We have a pair of running shoes under the tree for the mic.
I wasn't trying to.
Well, I already scratched the other one off. Yeah.
But I was sitting here doing. No, I wasn't.
Okay, where are we now? Let me see here. We're going into confidential matters. Councillor Bell, you have the resolution to go into closed session.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Chichek that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001. A, Director of Planning and Building, Brian Treble. Re, legal matter, bylaw enforcement, site alteration, enforcement matter. B, Director of Planning, Building, Brian Treble. Re, legal property, personal matter relating to an identifiable individual relating to bylaw enforcement, court order issue, and site alteration bylaw. C, Director of Planning and Building, Brian Treble, re legal matter and personal matters about identifiable individual, court hearings, building permit, and order. D, Director of Planning and Building, Brian Treble, re legal matter, bylaw enforcement, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, bylaw enforcement matter, building structure, porch. CAO Chris Carter and Director of Planning and Building, Brian Treble, re legal property / personal matter relating to an identifiable individual / transmission lines, South Grimsby Road 6 issue. Acceptable closed session exemptions. The following exemptions apply to all items above. A to E, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Litigation or potential litigation, including matters before the administration tribunes and affecting the municipality or local board. The following exemptions apply to A, B, and D above. Advise that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. The following exemptions applies to the items B and E above. Security of property and the municipality of local board. I'm killing shorten it because the original one, you get the short.
Moved by Councillor Bell and seconded by Councillor Chichuk. The next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act, as read out by Councillor Bell. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go into in-camera closed session right now. Thanks. So have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.